awful job. Jeff Rowe, who finally was ousted. I mean, I'm getting into the weeds here.
Yeah,
but, this consultant class did DeSantis wrong, and ultimately that's on him because a lot of people told him that certain people would do him wrong, and he didn't listen. A lot of people told him this isn't the time for you, and he didn't listen too. That's more understandable. But some of the personnel choices he made, how long they lasted, the work product was just not good. And the other mistake they made, which is what a lot of these consultants, including the quote-unquote conservative Republican consultants, is they want to sidle up to the mainstream media because they're looking at DeSantis as a payday. They're looking at DeSantis, what job could I get if he won? But they're also looking ahead and, this is an opportunity for me to be a big shot because I'm on one of the premier campaigns at the presidential level. And so I'm going to make my relationships with the D.C. press corps and I'm going to give them access so we become friends because I can use that later on for my other clients or to get other clients. This is what you have to understand about the mindset. And it's surprising to me that Ron DeSantis didn't, as somebody who keeps his counsel, that he was led astray. And let me give you an example of this because it happened over the weekend.
What is it?
This noxious NBC reporter, Dasha Burns.
Oh.
So clearly the Never Back Down staff had given the D.C. press corps access to the campaign, right? Hey, yeah, we're getting pub and access to the campaign. Look what we're doing. Right. You let the
Fox in the henhouse?
Basically, and this is what happens at the end.
Well, look, over the course of covering this campaign, there are many stories that kind of explain why he failed to really get off the ground in the way that a lot of people expected him to. But one of those stories came to us in the final days of the Iowa caucus, and it has to do with a puzzle. Now, stay with me here. Multiple staffers from the headquarters of the DeSantis Iowa operation, their field operation run by Never Back Down, reached out to me and my producer, Abby Brooks, and said that the CEO and chairman of that organization was spending a significant amount of time in those final critical days working on a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. Now, some of those staffers were so confused and found it so absurd that one of them actually took a photo of it and shared it with us. And the frustration was described to me from one of them saying that, look, staffers are putting their dedication and devotion to electing Governor DeSantis, and they come in and the CEO and chairman of the organization is sitting there working on a puzzle for hours. Now, in a comment to NBC News, Scott Wagner, the gentleman in the picture there, tells us that it was an office puzzle. He said that it was there when they arrived and became a sense of pride for team members, and everyone chipped in a few minutes to get it done and noted his pride of the team.
Yeah, good luck, Scott Wagner. And this is what you get when you say, yeah, let's invite Dasha Burns in and let's get our exposure and let's develop that relationship. And then the end of it is you get everybody assembled at the NBC, in quotes, news desk giggling about you. Well played. Indicative of the DeSantis campaign on the talent side, on the consultant and campaign execution side. That was a big problem, too.
And that's why it's over. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 5:38, more POTUS politics because Trump got a sizable endorsement that may also be his running mate. We'll talk about Tim Scott. And
it's a sad day for Dan.
Yeah, over the weekend, it was a tragedy occurred to Tim Scott in his life, and we want to talk about that, too, at 5:38.
Big news. All right, but first, let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
It's 5:33 on AM 560, The Answer. Russian-installed officials in the eastern Ukrainian city of Donetsk say 27 have been killed in shelling, they say, by Ukraine. The attack hit a market in the Donetsk suburb on Sunday. Kyiv has not commented on the attack. The claim could not be independently verified. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is dropping out of the race for the White House. DeSantis made it official on Sunday.
Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge.
DeSantis polling in single digits ahead of Tuesday's New Hampshire primary. The GOP race now essentially a two-person battle between Trump and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley.
Thank you so much, Exeter, for coming out. Can you hear that sound? That's the sound of a two-person race.
Trump called DeSantis a terrific person who ran a, quote, really good campaign, end quote.
He was very gracious, and he endorsed me, so I appreciate it. I appreciate that, and I also look forward to working with Ron and everybody else to defeat crooked Joe Biden.
Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu believes Haley can win Tuesday's primary. Pope Francis calling for the release of several groups of people, including 6 nuns captured in Haiti. The Pope asked for their release during his weekly session at the Vatican Sunday. The 87-year-old also prayed for peace as widespread violence moves throughout that country. U.S. military ending a 10-day search for 2 Navy SEALs who went missing in the waters of the Gulf of Aden. The 2 are now presumed dead. Drivers need to be cautious this morning on the roadways here in the Chicago area. National Weather Service says mixed precip is expected throughout the region, including some freezing rain, and a winter weather advisory is in effect for most areas. One man is in custody after a woman and her 3 adult daughters were killed in a domestic incident in Tinley Park.
Mother Mahida Kasim, 53, Halima Kasim, 25, Hanan Kasim, 24, Zahaya Kasim, 25. These are the confirmed names of the victims from the medical examiner's office.
Tinley Park Village Manager Pat Carr, the suspect was taken into custody at the scene and the gun used was recovered. Bulls weekend winners over Memphis. They are in Phoenix tonight. The Blackhawks visit Vancouver tonight, and the Bears will interview Titans defensive backs coach Chris Harris for the defensive coordinator role this week. Harris spent 4 seasons as a player with the Bears. 5:36. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk sees trouble in Georgia.
So Big Fannie Willis goes after, and she hires Nathan Wade, her lover, to be the special prosecutor on the case. A private sector attorney brought onto the case to assist. Now, according to the complaint, this is all allegedly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's true, Wade has literally never prosecuted a felony before.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Happy New Year from Dutch Farms. Since 1987, Dutch Farms has been offering cheese, eggs, and hundreds of other dairy items to local grocery stores throughout Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. Our goal is to bring the highest quality dairy items to you and your family at unsurpassed value. Dutch Farms is a 3-generation, local, family-owned business. Much of Dutch Farms' success can be directly attributed to our ongoing commitment to faith and family, to community, and to honoring the traditions of our Dutch heritage. Now, more than ever, we're prepared to carry on our long-standing promise to our customers, partners, team members, and neighbors. As we turn the page on 2023, Dutch Farms would like to wish the AM 560 listeners health and happiness in the new year. Please visit DutchFarms.com to learn more about the #1 dairy brand in all of Chicagoland, Dutch Farms.
When it comes to nutrition, why be less intense about the contents of your supplements? At North American Urban Spice, we take the best of nature and bring it directly to you. We set the highest nutritional standards for every supplement we manufacture, and none of our products are made with fillers, flow agents, or synthetic chemicals. Visit us at oregano.com. That's OREGANOL.com. Or find our products in your favorite health food store. North American Urban Spice. Strong inside. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
5:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time, a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. Handling an insurance claim for your home and business is difficult. Crosscom will help you maximize your claim and get what you need. They've helped thousands. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com. Edens, Kennedy, Ike, all starting out on time. Stevenson already delayed a jam up between Ashland and the Ryan Merge. They're pulling an accident from the ditch on I-55 southbound this morning, right at Route 126. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, little icy starting in a few minutes. And ice, rain, and snow throughout the day. High 34. Tonight, periods of rain, some ice mixed in. Low 31. 25 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, over the weekend, in advance of DeSantis' departure, what you saw was really a consolidation of conservative, reform-minded Republicans with some profile behind Trump. I mean, they're really starting to see the buildup of even some establishment support of Trump because the outcome of this primary campaign is not in doubt, which is why I don't see Nikki Haley putting up much of a fight in New Hampshire tomorrow. Maybe she's within a stone's throw about what the polling says, 10, 12, 15 points. But I think Trump wins tomorrow, and that effectively concludes this portion of the program.
Well, there are some Nikki Haley supporters out there that listen to this show, and she was very excited yesterday to hear the news.
We just heard that Ron DeSantis has dropped out of the race.
He was in single digits.
And I want to say to Ron, he ran a great race. He's been a good governor, and we wish him well. Having said that, it's now one fella and one lady left.
Whatever. I mean, that's that's a good example of what I'm talking about with Nikki Haley. I mean, my interaction with her, I did a sit-down interview with her when her book came out a couple years back in Naperville in front of a live audience, and she was perfectly pleasant, and we had a nice conversation, a nice time. But she's not any more dynamic a candidate than Ron DeSantis is. She's a cliche machine. She has nothing important to say. She has nothing even interesting to say. She can't figure out whether she wants to play identitarian politics or she doesn't want to play identitarian politics. Right. This is going nowhere. So, I mean, believe whatever you want to believe, and then tomorrow will bear out the situation. I mean, Governor McMaster from South Carolina headed up to New Hampshire to endorse Trump ahead of South Carolina's primary. As I said on Friday, yeah, you look at, she's within striking distance of Trump, but then you look below the fold. Among Republicans, self-identified Republicans in New Hampshire, Trump is up 40. So the only thing that is making this even interesting in New Hampshire are independents and Democrats, which are not going to be a vote in many primaries after New Hampshire, which says New Hampshire, I mean, it almost doesn't matter. It just matters in terms of, does it end immediately after New Hampshire, or do we have to go on and pretend like this is a contest for a couple of more elections? That's the only thing that's really at stake here. Speaking of South Carolina, the endorsement I was referring to is, of course, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who, after endorsing Trump, was one of those surrogates out on the Sunday talkies, making the case for Trump and against Biden. And Scott, he's a nice guy. He needs to get a little sharper in these exchanges, I think. But I think he's good. And I'm a fan of the idea of Tim Scott being Trump's running mate. Here he was on CNN over the weekend responding to Dana Bash's pathetic attempt to try to impose grievance politics as the calling card of Trump, as opposed to the calling card of the entire Democrat Socialist Party and its comm shop, which includes Dana Bash.
And for a person who's seen the DOJ weaponized against him, for a person who before he was ever sworn into office, the Washington Post said they were going to make sure that he is a one-term president. When you look at the challenges that he faced, there's no doubt that he has been aggrieved. The question is, what are the American voters looking for? Here's what they're looking for. They are looking for a president who represents their best future and not his. That president is not Joe Biden. It is Donald Trump.
But here's something else from Scott. I thought this is bringing this back. I mean, we're been very focused on the situation at the border and how it has metastasized into big cities in America. And Scott, wanted to bring it back to something that is granular, that has been with us for the last 3 years, has not gone away. It's only been exacerbated by the political leadership in big blue states and big blue cities. And that's also spread, though. That's also metastasized into suburban communities, and this is where there is opportunity politically. Talking just about violent crime. Also, this intersects, of course, with the influx of people from around the world, most of whom we know very little about, and the incidence of crime, increased crime among that cohort that we've seen.
When you look around the cities, when you grow up in poor communities like I did, and you watch the crime ravishing your communities, you ask yourself, what president has allowed that to happen? It's Joe Biden. When you have DAs around the country that says it's no longer a crime to steal $1,000 worth of goods, and those stores start closing in San Francisco and across the country, you ask yourself, what president allowed that lawless behavior to continue? That's Joe Biden. You ask yourself, who can restore the kind of law and order in our nation to allow it to go forward? That would be Donald Trump.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Specifically, Scott for VP. I want to get people's reaction to that because that would be my leader in the clubhouse right now.
Well, I think what solidified it was this morning when I woke up to see his tweet. Dan, she said yes. Mindy, thank you for making me the luckiest man in the world. Quote, he who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. Proverbs 18:22. Tim Scott got engaged over the weekend to his girlfriend, Mindy. And to me, that solidified that he is definitely the VP pick.
He said, she said yes. I said, man down.
And Dan, that makes you all alone.
Yeah.
Dan Proft is.
Well, I wasn't going to marry Tim Scott, so I don't know. Like, if you think him being off the market is somehow, that's not. I just wanted to be VP. I don't want him to be my beau.
No, I know, but you.
Yeah.
I remember early on in the campaign, you said, I like this Tim. He's been a bachelor for 58 years.
I like the cut of his jib.
Yep,
yeah.
And you thought that was cool. Like, why? And
I thought that it demonstrated great insight into the human condition.
Exactly.
Yes.
And he even told the Washington Post, he's like, I probably have more time, more energy, and more latitude to do the job. Because
that all goes away now, doesn't it?
You're darn right it does, sister.
Yeah.
So they posted pictures of their, he's on his knees. They're on the beach in South Carolina proposing.
Yeah, get used to that pose.
Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But
You're marking days off a calendar now, buddy.
So they do I did a little digging, excuse me, and they participate in Bible study together. She's an interior designer, formerly married with 3 children. I have to check their ages because that could be a lot to handle. But they also, as a hobby, they play pickleball together. So
Well, I'll take on the 2 of them by myself in pickleball. I'm happy to play. All right.
But I swear to God, to me, when I saw that, I'm like,
obviously,
he's for sure the VP.
Yeah. Oh, you think this is this? You think he popped the question so he could solidify the VP slot?
Heck yeah. It takes out of the
No.
question. People are like, why hasn't he been married? Well, now you can't say that. And you can't question anything about him for being single or being a bachelor for 58 years because, look, he has found love and they are getting married.
Why? If he would have kept her as a girlfriend, it could be, this is the second shorty. You have the first lady and the second shorty.
The second shorty.
It would have been cool.
I bet they're going to have like a shotgun wedding and get married within the few weeks.
Oh,
I know. No, I don't mean to say shotgun wedding. I mean, like, just go elope somewhere.
And Trey Gowdy will be both the best man and the maid of honor. If we could, now we've done the View version of Tim
Thank
Scott.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to help out where I can.
So the issue he brings up with respect to crime, I just want to bring this home because I don't know if people heard about this incident up in Glencoe over the weekend.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Carjacking.
Oh, really?
Here's the text from the family. Isaac was carjacked last night 2 blocks from our house. He was driving home from the New Trier gym at 8 p.m. last night at our house in Glencoe, and his car was hit from behind. He called me, then got out to look at the damage, and was attacked by 5 random guys. Luckily, he was only 2 blocks from our house at Sunset and Skokie Ridge, and I got there quickly. When I arrived, I saw a fight and tackled a huge Mexican guy off of Isaac. It looked like the crew was running back to their SUV, but then 2 of them jumped in his car and stole it. Luckily, they didn't have any weapons or land any damaging punches. He was fighting for his life. They were punching and kneeing him. Isaac fought back and protected himself really well. He only has a couple of small bumps on his head, and his knees and elbows are cut up pretty bad from the fighting. And Isaac is feeling well, but he's in complete shock, and he actually wanted to go back to school the next day, or that afternoon, I guess. I think this happened Friday or Thursday, to tell the insane story. And I think they got 2 of the guys that were involved. But so
Are
that's
they
in
here
Glen.
illegally, or we don't know?
Well, I don't know those details.
Okay.
But I mean, this is what is real now, and what people in the suburbs are confronting, in addition to and including the situation with migrants coming through and maybe making their way onto Chicago, and maybe some of them are sticking around. I mean, Scott's onto something there, and he is, I think, a good point person on this issue, as well as on school choice, for example, to be really focused on the urban-suburban geographic as a partner with Trump, which is one of the reasons I like him. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
The thing with Tim Scott was, how would an awful reconcile voting against like a black vice presidential campaign and not considering themselves racists? I mean, psychologically, it'd be so conflicted.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, first of all, I mean that assumes there's some sort of desire for consistency among that segment of America. I don't think there is. I mean, they just turned a blind eye to things that they can't process. Just like, for example, all the residents of Glencoe who were proponents of the Safety Act will sort of turn a blind eye to this, because what's their alternative? To accept the fact they did this to themselves? To accept the fact that the consequences that horrify them are the results of the choices they made? They won't do that.
No, heavens no.
No. So instead, they'll just turn that blind eye. That's what's going to happen. Now, something interesting, too, just to get as expansive a coverage as we can here on the POTUS Politics. Have you seen this little sort of 11th hour attempt on Trump's standing? This is Nikki Haley, and then the Biden-Harris campaign picked up on it.
Oh, yeah.
Calling into question Trump's mental acuity.
Right.
Right? He's not the only, Biden's not the only octogenarian or soon-to-be octogenarian in the race, and Trump's lost his fastball, and we can't take a chance on Trump. And it's just natural that someone of his age is going to deteriorate in these years as he approaches his 80s, and of course, the zeroing in is on Trump's confusion when he was talking about J6th, and he was meaning to implicate Pelosi, and he kept saying Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley.
You know, Nikki Haley. You know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down.
I wasn't in D.C. on January 6th. I had nothing to do with the Capitol. It's things like that. He said multiple times that he ran against President Obama. He didn't run against President Obama. These things happen because guess what? When you're 80, that's what happens. You're just not as sharp as you used to be.
And he also did, too, say, Biden is going to lead us into World War II. He meant to say World War III, but it was just something else that other people picked up.
Well, they put together a compilation, the Biden-Harris ticket. I mean, this is what they do. I'm rubber and you're glue. This is the basically in one sentence, the Democrats' campaign strategy. I'm rubber and you're glue. You say I'm a senile kleptocrat. I say you're a senile kleptocrat.
Last night, Trump is at a rally.
You know, Nikki Haley.
And he's going on and on mentioning me multiple times as to why I didn't handle January 6th better.
Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people. They don't want to talk about that.
I wasn't in office then. They're saying he got confused.
You have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have ID to buy a loaf of bread. What? I'm driving over a road where it's almost all paper. And you can see paper. I know paper. I know cans. But all the time now we see whales washing up on shore because of the wind. Our veterans don't have cell phones, do they?
He got confused. He got confused and said he was running against Obama. He never ran against Obama.
And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won.
Obama he doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, you mean President Biden. So,
don't put our country at risk like this.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
So what do you think? You think they can dull the blade on the perception that 80% of Americans have that Joe Biden is not competent to do the job by saying, well, Trump isn't competent either, and that's enough to say, well, since they're both incompetent, they don't have the mental acuity, I'll stick with the...
With who?
With the guy who has the least mental acuity. I don't know.
Kennedy Jr.?
Yeah, but that's not their posture. I mean, yeah, maybe. Maybe trying to drive reluctant Trump voters to a third party just so they don't vote for Trump. I mean, maybe that, scrapes a point or two. Maybe, you try and muddy the waters where you have a weakness, and obviously Team Biden has a weakness in Team Biden. And so they're trying to say, well, whatever you say about us, Trump has the same problem.
Well, Trump had a big week. I mean, he was in court 3 times. He went to his mother-in-law's funeral and then bounced back to New Hampshire. He's got more stamina and energy than Joe Biden. That would put him out to do what Trump did in 1 week in a month. I mean, he's been gone 27 days. He's been on vacation. Then he'll come back for a day. He's had 3 public appearances, and that's it. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Is he sleeping? What the heck's he doing?
Well, and he stands and delivers at these rallies for an hour, mainly extemporaneously, too. I don't think, right, the missteps, the synapse misfires. Sometimes I have a brain hemorrhage when I got a little flop shot over a trap, too, but it doesn't mean I can't make that shot. So I don't think it sells unless there's, real consistent signs of deterioration over time, the way that we've all witnessed with Biden. So
he made a mistake. It was a bad week.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
I don't think that campaign ad's effective at all.
No, it'd be actually really interesting to see what Nikki Haley does, assuming she loses New Hampshire. If she immediately folds in, knowing she can't win South Carolina, if she immediately folds in with Trump and helps put this to an end and really consolidate the party, which I think would be in her benefit as well. But we'll see.
She signed the pledge, though. That's what Ron DeSantis in his announcement of suspending his campaign. He signed a pledge to support whoever the GOP nominee is.
Politicians and pledges. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. All right, coming up at 6:06, it was big sports weekend too. and a big sports and politics weekend. We'll have our latest installment of said Sports and Politics at 6:06.
And that mayor's meeting has been rescheduled for today, but the list is different. We'll explain, but now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Winter weather could cause some slippery roads in the Chicago area today. One is in custody after 3 daughters were killed in a Tinley Park domestic incident. 2 CPD officers and 1 driver hurt in a Northwest Side crash. The Bulls beat the Grizzlies. Illinois takes down Rutgers and the White Sox with the signing. WIND Chicago News Time. 6.
It's a one-on-one, one day before New Hampshire. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's after Ron DeSantis dropped out of the Republican presidential race.
I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory.
The Florida governor then threw his support behind former President Trump, who tells Fox.
I was honored that he endorsed me this quickly. I mean, it's not easy. Look, it's not easy. He fought hard, spent a lot of money, and a lot of people thought he'd do well. You know, I was leading from the beginning.
Now his only challenger left is Nikki Haley, who put out a statement.
So far, only one state has voted. Half of its votes went to Donald Trump, and half did not. We're not a country of coronations. Voters deserve a say in whether we go down the road of Trump and Biden again, or we go down a new conservative road.
That's Fox's Brian Yanis from Epping, New Hampshire, where he attended
her largest campaign rally in New Hampshire yet. Over 1,000 people, according to the campaign, were at the high school auditorium, in part to also see TV star Judge Judy, who says she traveled 1,700 miles to be here. She praised Haley inside that auditorium, saying that she has poise.
Now, President Biden's not on the New Hampshire ballot tomorrow, as Democrats recognize South Carolina's primary first next month. Today, he'll meet with his task force on reproductive health care on the 51st anniversary of the Supreme Court decision legalizing abortion. Democrats have made that a big issue after the recent Supreme Court ruling gave states the right to ban abortions. The search at sea is over for 2 U.S. Navy SEALs never found, declared dead.
The pair did go missing on the 11th of January during an operation off the coast of Somalia. They were part of a nighttime commando team that was attempting to board a small boat in rough seas. One fell into the water and the other went after him. The boat they were trying to seize was filled with Iranian weapon components for ballistic and cruise missiles headed for Yemen.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. America's listening to Fox News.
6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Drivers need to be cautious on roadways today. Already rain and sleet are falling across much of the Chicago area. A winter weather advisory is in effect for much of this day for rain, sleet, and snow. Near whiteout conditions grip Michigan City, Indiana, Friday into Saturday. They're digging out this morning for more than 30 inches of lake effect snow. And the Sheriff's Department has reached out to us asking residents to try and move vehicles that are parked on sides of the roads in residential areas so plows can get through. One man is in custody after a woman and her 3 adult daughters were killed in a domestic incident in Tinley Park. Tinley Park Village Manager Pat Carr says officers responded to a home in the 7400 block of West 173rd after a male called 911.
It's a huge impact to our community and the neighbors around here. I mean, especially around this anniversary of Lane Bryant, but not only that, it's a family, and our thoughts and prayers go out to all of them and the family members.
A suspect was taken into custody at the scene, and the gun used in the shooting was recovered. Illinois' unemployment rate is up. The state's unemployment office says the jobless rate increased to 4.8% last month. Pilot walked away from a helicopter crash in Kenosha, Wisconsin with minor injuries. Happened around noon yesterday. The NTSB is looking into that crash. Well, some culprit filled in a north side Chicago neighborhood so-called landmark, affectionately called by residents the Rat Hole. It's a simple indentation in the pavement on West Roscoe that resembles the outline of a rat. It was reported Friday on social media that the rat hole had been filled. By the way, that hole was actually made by a squirrel. Bulls dominate all 4 quarters of their win over Memphis over the weekend at the UC. They take on Phoenix tonight. Blackhawks visit Vancouver tonight. Number 14 Fighting Illini on a 2-game win streak after a weekend win over Rutgers. They're at Northwestern on Wednesday. 6:04. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager explains basic economics.
See, what you do when you raise the minimum wage is something else. Not only do you put people out of work, but you put businesses out of business, small businesses especially, and you reduce the ability of people to start working in their lives because they're overpriced.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund is belong to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax-confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Save up to 80% when you file with TaxSlayer. Start for free.
Hey, to social engineering and leftist corporations, do they make you feel like we're kind of living in the Twilight Zone? Well, you're not alone. Now, our friends at Pure Talk, my wireless company, they know the silent majority is fed up, and I'm calling on all of those Americans, stand with a company that champions your values. The average family is saving almost $1,000 a year. Dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. Do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month from our friends at Pure Talk.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life. I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself. Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them. Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95 and comes with our Feel Better or Your Money Back guarantee. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Honey, I am like a different woman. I mean, finally one day I kept seeing that commercial and I said, what the heck, what do I got to lose? I started feeling a little bit better. So I got my sister on them. I got my daughter on them. I can't say enough about them. I really can't. Those commercials that you all do is the truth.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code Chicago.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on the Bishop 4, jamming up already at 103rd into the Ryan merge. Ryan itself, 15 minutes from 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Big delays already inbound on the Stevenson between Central and Kedzie. 35 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, here's Steve Williams.
A winter weather advisory this morning. Clouds and snow, sleet and freezing rain at times. No accumulation expected, but some icy spots. I-34. Rain and ice mixed in early tonight, low 31. 20 to an inch of snow, sleet, and rain tomorrow, the high 34. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Already seeing the rain, snow, and ice move into the area at O'Hare, Midway, and along Chicago's lakefront where it's 25. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Sports and politics.
Sports and politics and sports and politics and sports and politics and intersection. Arrogance and ignorance, arrogance, ignorance, and arrogance and ignorance. Intersection.
Yeah, another installment of Sports and Politics. Big sports weekend.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch all the games?
I sure did. Obviously, the sporting event that everybody's talking about was Nick Dunlap being the first amateur to win a PGA tournament in 33 years. You want to talk about his 60 on Saturday? Is that what people are mainly talking about? Do you think? I think golf, tennis, or football? American football.
I'd say start with American football.
All right, American football. Of course, the AFC and NFC championship games next weekend are now set after this weekend's activities. And on Saturday, the Baltimore Ravens took care of business, beating the Texans, C.J. Stroud-led Texans. And John Harbaugh, fresh off of his brother Jim's national championship, fresh off his brother Jim's appearance at the March for Life the prior day, had this to say after his Ravens demolished
the Texans.
C.J. Stroud and the Texans. John Harbaugh giving glory where it belongs.
Being here, I just want to start off with this. This is something that was sent to me before the game, and it just is meaningful to me, so I'm going to share it with you because I think it's the right thing to do. And it's a verse. Greatness, power, glory, victory, and honor belong to you because everything in heaven and on earth belongs to you. The kingdom belongs to you, Lord. You are the head and the ruler over everything. So there's an amazing spirit on this team, and I just want to kind of give honor and glory where it's due. With that...
that's 1 Chronicles 29:11 if you're scoring at home. It's been an interesting couple of weeks because, really an entire season, because some of the highest profile players and now coaches in the NFL have felt compelled to express their faith, which is a good thing. C.J. Stroud, I just mentioned, of course, a couple of times, including after the Texans' playoff win against Cleveland last weekend, weekend prior to this past one.
And he got interviewed by NBC News.
He once again, this is not the first time he's done it, talked about his faith and how he was asked earlier in the season how he stays so calm, and he basically talked about his faith in God and how he recognizes that he's unworthy unworthy of the grace that God has granted him, but he appreciates it anyway, and he lives to fulfill the talent that God has bestowed upon him. It was wonderful. He expressed his thanks to Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior after the game against the Browns, and of course NBC censored that. Right.
They didn't think we'd find out the truth.
Yeah, there was a good...
big edit that was made.
Yeah, there's the side-by-side of what he said versus what went out over the airwaves after the live event. The editing after the fact was telling about what you'd expect. From both the Sports Press Corps, which is an adjunct of the D.C. Political Press Corps, and the outlets they work for, which are largely the same corporate outlets. They're just part of corporate media. But so C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, who again at the beginning of the season talked about his perspective and his faith and how that informs who he is as a man and who he'll be as a football player. And he blossomed, of course. Really, the Packers should have beat the 49ers. Anyway, so you've got C.J. Stroud, you got Jordan Love, you got John Harbaugh. Boy, I mean, the sports press corps must have felt like they've been Gatorade dunked with holy water. And how uncomfortable is that for them? Jim Harbaugh, I mentioned the day before at the March for Life, was interviewed by a guy named John Root. And this is what he said about being at the March for Life and being a speaker there.
Just have the courage to let the unborn be born. The testimony of so many here, of yourself, just so thankful and grateful for that. This is a great day for a march. It's a great day for the sanctity of life, and it's football weather. Yeah. So let's go.
Yeah, it was so beautiful, and they baptized 70 University of Michigan football players this season.
It's our players and their parents, our coaches, our staff. There's a spiritual mission, to our team, and I'm inspired by them. You see guys like Blake Corum and so many others, but it's inspirational. The young players on our team are incredible examples.
Well, 70 players got baptized. They didn't baptize them.
No, I'm
like
saying,
you're
but
not,
during the season.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're not getting your NIL money unless you get baptized.
But
yes.
I just love Jim Harbaugh because this makes me cry every time. He once told his Michigan players and his staff, I don't want to cry, that if you're ever dealing with an unplanned pregnancy, he and his wife would take the baby. Quote, I told them the same thing I tell my kids, boys, the girls, same thing I tell our players, our staff members. I encourage them, if they have a pregnancy that wasn't planned, to go through with it. Let that unborn child be born. And if at that time you don't feel like you can care for it, you don't have the means or wherewithal, then Sarah and I will take that baby.
Yeah, well, it's just nice to see this from young athletes as well as from older coaches. It's also, to me, it's a challenge. It's an implicit challenge. You're afraid where you live to stand up to these shrill, peahat hysterics, shouting their abortions and behaving like the cretins they are, and you're afraid of them? You're afraid to be called out by them? You're afraid to be criticized? You know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to our listeners' friends who live in their neighborhoods in the leafy suburbs and in the well-heeled neighborhoods in Chicago. So you don't have the courage of a C.J. Stroud or Jordan Love to speak your mind and to, live as an example? Because why? You support these grotesque, cartoonish figures like Jelly Boy and BLM Brandon, especially Jelly Boy in the suburbs, not so much BLM Brandon, and all of these ghastly, angry, ignorant housewives or frustrated feminists in Elmhurst and River Forest and Glen Ellen, Downers Grove, Wilmette, Glencoe. Shall I go on? And you let them rule the roost? You let them run you over because you don't have the courage to say what you know to be true, like some 22-year-old, 23-year-old professional athlete? How pathetic are you? How pathetic are your friends who I'm describing? The men in particular. How pathetic are they? That's the great thing about people who provide examples like those we just heard from. It really challenges those who are living a sheepish, cowardly life, doesn't it? On to other sports. Speaking of living a sheepish and cowardly life, by contrast, Dana White. We talked about this a bit last week. Sean Strickland is UFC champion, or at least he was a title holder until this weekend where he lost his title on points. Anyway, in advance of that title fight, Sean Strickland, who is not afraid to speak his piece, and he's not the most eloquent guy in the world, but regardless, that's not really the point. He went after some eunuch from Canada, one of the sports reporters covering UFC from Canada, who voted for Trudeau, and he used that as the basis to lambaste this reporter, appropriately so, as far as I'm concerned. And he said other things that are a bit intemperate in the direction of the LGBTQ2S++++++++ community. And so Dana White, the founder of UFC, of course, was asked about keeping his fighters on a short leash when it comes to the topics they're allowed to address and how they're allowed to address them. Here's what Dana White said to the reporter who posited that question. And here again, here's the same example. You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to have that view. Here's another case study. Again, not the exact words, but the approach, generally speaking, the attitude. Politicians on the center right could learn something from this. People who believe in peaceful pluralism could learn something like this. Could learn from something like this. This is how you deal with mousy, illiberal authoritarians.
Dana, I just want to go back. You were talking about, you obviously give a long leash to your fighters about, what they can say when they are up there with a UFC microphone, and you are getting into territory of homophobia, transphobia. Is there...
I don't give anybody a leash.
Well, I'm saying you...
A leash? Free speech. Control what people say. Going to tell people what to believe. Going to tell people... I don't fucking tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them. What is your question?
I was asking that question. I'll move on, though.
Yeah, probably a good idea. That's ridiculous to say I give somebody a leash. Free speech, brother. People can say whatever they want, and they can believe whatever they want. And I don't think there's any... We had two gay women who fought in the co-main event. They sat on the stage with Sean Strickland. They could give a shit what Sean Strickland thinks, or what he says, or what his beliefs are, or what his opinions are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Oh, you can disagree? Oh, you're allowed to disagree. I'm allowed to say something that you don't think should be said aloud? Right. I mean, again, Dana White isn't a constitutional scholar, and he doesn't hold himself out to be, but he has more instincts when it comes to living in a free society than most of the assembled ruling class, including all of your local and state officials in Chicago and Illinois, since I'm speaking to mainly Chicago and Illinois. Because you know what he gets? He gets what Justice Brandeis said, that the cure for, paraphrasing, the cure for bad speech, the cure for speech you don't like, more speech. More speech. The First Amendment is not there to protect agreement. It's there to protect dissent, obviously. You wouldn't need a First Amendment. You wouldn't need a restraint on government if everybody agreed on everything, would you? Obviously. But it's not obvious to most of academia. It's not obvious to the D.C. press corps. It's not obvious to most of the occupants of Fortune 500 C-suites, to nonprofits and cultural institutions, museums and operas and theaters. It's not obvious to them, but it's obvious to Dana White. What a comment that is. Tennis. Got to get to tennis.
Oh, this is a good one.
Novak Djokovic. Perhaps the best tennis player who ever lived. Still at it. Still winning tournaments. This was, I think it was quadruple match point over the weekend.
4 match points.
Please.
Djokovic, recess to love, 6-3, 6-3, 7.
One case in here, somebody yelled, "Get vaccinated!"
Yeah,
and he looked at him, and then he did a what, Dan?
He
Aced
aced
his
the
serve.
heckler. Yeah, literally aced the heckler. So that's fun. And by the way, a related story. 59-year-old sports reporter Mike Dixon, who despised Djokovic for not getting vaccinated, suddenly died while covering the Australian Open that Djokovic won. He constantly shamed Djokovic for not getting vaccinated. He collapsed and died. The reporter in question, one of the things he wrote, Djokovic could ruin his chances of becoming the GOAT, greatest of all time, by refusing to take the vaccine. It's strange hill to die on for a player so desperate to be loved. And there's all kinds of other things posted on there. Don't know Dixon's cause of death, but, another one of those died suddenlies that leads one to wonder. And why do people wonder with died suddenlies? Particularly, he was 59, but particularly younger. Why do they wonder? Because of how dishonest the COVIDians were, Western governments were, how they tried to say things that weren't true in promotion of the vaccines, how they tried to say things that weren't true or suppress things that were that cast vaccines in a negative light, that express some doubts and the potential side effects and harm and so on and so forth. If you were transparent, if you had laid your cards on the table, if you had brought people along, if you hadn't shouted down people who asked questions or said, this isn't for me for these reasons, then you wouldn't have the sort of suspicion and vitriol that exists out there. So that was generated, the response you're seeing, and I don't wish anybody death, so I'm not celebrating this sports writer's death or anything like that, but the response you're seeing is because of the conduct of the COVIDians in the press corps, in government, of course, they're allies, and in so many other cultural and civic institutions in the West.
And what did, and side note, but Novak sent out a tweet, condolences to Mike Dixon's family, rest in peace.
Yeah, because
he's a class act.
Right, exactly right.
And that guy, according to his family, Mike Dixon was vaccinated and boosted. So
I'm sure he was. He's running around, castigating anybody who isn't, including Djokovic. And of course, in our enlightenment here, Djokovic was banned from coming here to play tennis. Let's not forget.
I know. And
this is what we're talking about.
Dickerson died while in Melbourne. Dixon, covering the Australian Open.
One more, sports and politics. Sports Illustrated's entire staff told their jobs have been eliminated. So Sports Illustrated is on the cusp of going the way of the Saturday Evening Post. Is that still around? Authentic Brands Group revoked Sports Illustrated's license to publish because they missed a payment. As a result, the entire staff of the 70-year-old print and online publication notified on Friday their jobs were being eliminated. Now there's like this 60-day grace period or 90-day grace period under the WARN Act notice that has to be given. So there's still the possibility they'll come up with the money or they'll strike some other deal. But what it really speaks to is Sports Illustrated circling the drain, like so many of these other publications. And you know why? Oh, because of the internet. No, because of the content. Because the Frank DeFords of the world no longer write at Sports Illustrated. Because Sports Illustrated has men pretending to be women in their swimsuit issue. Because Sports Illustrated, again, going with the zeitgeist, has, shall we say, Zoftig women in their Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Because there's no body shaming, because that's what it's called, recognizing somebody as heavy versus somebody as slim, and what, men consider attractive. That is feeding the patriarchy. Well, guess what? Sports Illustrated stopped feeding the patriarchy, and now their staff isn't going to be able to feed themselves. Mary Kay in Western Springs, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning, Dan and Amy. My daughter works for the Leadership Institute, Morton Blackwell's wonderful. I think it's a great organization, and they bring this gigantic 10-foot radius thing. It's a beach ball, so it's plastic. You take markers and write all over it. They take it to every college campus in Illinois. My daughter does this every week here. And you roll it in the summer, you roll this thing around the campus, and these kids, you give them a marker and you say, you write whatever you want. Some will write happy birthday, grandma, happy anniversary, mom and dad, F Biden, F Trump, anything you want. And she just keeps driving home the three big ones. Free guns, free speech, gun rights, free speech, pro-life. And, those are their, it's a conservative training organization, as you know, Dan. I don't know if everyone out there knows that. And, those, if you can get those young people to I just keep trying so hard, get these people to just understand these very, very basic things. Just like you were talking about the Michigan people, keep it simple. It's just prayer, faith, family, love. I mean, it's God, country. It's just so easy. You can ask for these simple things. Talk to your children, Amy. Talk to the boys. Talk to their boys' friends. Everything at the schools, and let's just keep it going. Because I am as proud as can be about that my daughter is involved in this organization. She works with the Turning Point reps everywhere. She's going to be one of those kids. I hope that makes a big impact.
Very good.
For her,
Thanks
she's a good mom.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Mary Kay. All right, coming up at 6:36. Remember those pipe bombs that were allegedly planted the night before outside the RNC and the DNC the night before January 6th of 2021? Yeah, some video that has been released, courtesy of Thomas Massey, a Republican from Kentucky, calls into question the nature of those fake pipe bombs and potentially the fake news coverage surrounding them. 6:36.
But first, let's stop by the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
6:31, 25 degrees, and already this morning precipitation. Some rain, some freezing rain, and snow is falling across the area. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dropping out of the race for the White House over the weekend, endorsing former President Donald Trump.
Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge.
A new poll gives former President Trump an 11-point lead over GOP rival Nikki Haley in New Hampshire.
I remember at the United Nations, I had to sit him down and tell him to stop this bromance with Putin.
CNN University of New Hampshire poll released Sunday shows Trump with 50% support in New Hampshire, followed by the South Carolina governor, the former governor, at 39%. U.S. military is ending a 10-day search for 2 Navy SEALs who went missing in the waters of the Gulf of Aden. The 2 are now presumed dead. Recovery operations are underway. One man is in custody after a woman and her 3 adult daughters were killed in a domestic incident in Tinley Park.
Mother Mahida Kasim, 53, Halima Kasim, 25, Hanan Kasim, 24, Zahaya Kasim, 25. These are the confirmed names of the victims from the medical examiner's office.
Tinley Park Village manager Pat Carr, a suspect, was taken into custody and the gun used has been recovered. 2 Chicago police officers and a driver are recovering following a crash on the northwest side. Authorities say the squad car was responding with lights and sirens to a call early yesterday when it collided with an SUV at a red light at Montrose and North Pulaski Road. University of Illinois police investigating after an 18-year-old student was found dead over the weekend. The 18-year-old was discovered Saturday on the back porch of a building in Urbana. Discovery made after a roommate reported him missing. The Bulls dominated all 4 quarters of their weekend win over Memphis. They visit Phoenix later tonight, while the Blackhawks visit Vancouver. The Fighting Illini are at Northwestern Wednesday after a weekend win over Rutgers. The news is a service of Lowe's. Shop the closeout event now at Lowe's. Get 35% off select major appliances, plus save an extra $100 when you spend $999 or more on all major appliances. Valid to 1/24. See Lowe's.com for any details. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum wants you to know what they're afraid of.
Gas prices were down. Unemployment for black, Hispanic, women, historic lows. Things were headed in the right direction. People were satisfied, happy with the trajectory of the country when Donald Trump was in office. So what is the fear? It's made up. It's a lie.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Chronic pain, it can ruin your marriage, bring on depression. It's no way to live. But now there's a non-surgical way to get rid of that hip, back, and joint pain. It's called QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative non-surgical pain relief. Did you know that your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue? And QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetic providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People like you and me with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. Folks, this is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. So fight back against the pain. Take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. This is the number, 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
Is your child getting the personalized attention they need to excel in math? Mathnasium has a solution for students of all skill levels. Each child's strengths and weaknesses, creating a customized learning plan. If you have kids in school, you're probably starting to see how they're doing in math. Could it be better? Consider an individual assessment with Mathnasium. They'll pinpoint what your child needs to excel, then give them live, face-to-face instruction, either in-center or online, so they can catch up and get ahead. At Mathnasium, math is taught in a way that makes sense to students, so they understand it, master it, and enjoy it. Over 1 million parents have already trusted Mathnasium to give their children an edge in math. The Mathnasium method gives them the critical thinking skills they need to thrive, with the option to attend face-to-face online sessions or come to one of our 1,000 neighborhood learning centers. Mathnasium is changing lives through math. Learn more at mathnasium.com. That's mathnasium.com.
Brothers and sisters in Christ, as we navigate the challenges of our time, it's crucial to stand firm in our faith and uphold the values that have shaped our nation. The Bible teaches us the importance of faith, family, and freedom. In Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6, we're reminded to trust in the Lord with all our hearts and to lean not on our own understanding. AMAC, like us, values faith as a guiding principle in our lives and in the decisions that shape our nation. As Christians, we cherish the freedom to worship, to live our lives in accordance with our faith. AMAC advocates for policies that safeguard our religious liberties, ensuring that future generations can continue to exercise their faith without fear. Join us in this mission to preserve the biblical values that make our nation strong. Visit amac.us/faith and let your voice be heard. That's amac.us/faith.
Staples stores provide innovative products and services for small business, remote workers and learners, even teachers and parents. Explore more at your local Staples store.
6:38, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on the Kennedy inbound this morning, where already it's 30 minutes O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now at 39 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 40 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. You're jammed up inbound Ashland to the Ryan Merge. I-57 and the Bishop Ford, both jamming into the Ryan Merge already this morning. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast in our QC Kinetics Weather Center. Icy mix this morning. Rain, sleet, and snow already falling across the area. We'll top out at 34 later today. Periods of rain, some ice mixed in overnight as well, and a low of 31. 25 right now at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Per the big guys' speeches at Valley Forge, at Charleston, sending out his surrogates to reinforce what was said at Valley Forge in Charleston, which is that the choice in November is save our democracy or MAGA dictatorship. And Trump and his supporters and his voters, reluctant or not, you vote for Trump, then you are consorting with seditionists who seek to install a MAGA dictatorship. That's the argument that's being advanced by Biden and company. So stories like this are important because you can't just ignore the charge they're leveling. You have to address it and then flip it and focus on the record of the incumbent as well. What's going on around us as they're trying to gaslight people into not believing their lying eyes. So this comes to us from Darren Beatty, who's from Revolver News, who got this video, more Jan 6 video, dribbling out from Tom Massey, who's a Republican congressman from Kentucky, of course, libertarian, MIT grad. And it's about the story that came out in the wake of the rioting in Jan 6th and everything that ensued, that there were pipe bombs that had been planted outside the RNC and the DNC, and that the pipe bomb planted outside the DNC was particularly threatening because VP-elect Kamala Harris was in the building at the time the pipe bomb was discovered.
But remember from the outside, you and I, remember when they were saying that there was a pipe bomb found, and they had this surveillance video, which we'll get into in detail, but why no arrests were made and why the area wasn't cleared. Remember back then we thought it was a hoax? I remember talking about it with you on the air, both thinking, well we didn't have they arrested the person, and why isn't there more information about this person? And FBI posters, America's Most Wanted up everywhere.
Right. We didn't have the details that we have now, but yeah, there were a lot of questions that were surrounding it. And of course, if you have questions that you want answered by the FBI, you're not going to get any answers. No. So here was the reporting at the time, just to take everyone back to the wake of January 6th of 2021. On this specific issue, those pipe bombs allegedly planted outside the DNC and RNC. Here's the reporting at the time, including at the end of this clip, a message from the D.C. field office head of the FBI, Steve D'Antuono, who we've talked about a lot with respect to January 6th, and not in a complimentary fashion.
The FBI releasing new video of the person suspected of planting those pipe bombs the night before the Capitol riot. And the FBI officially confirming those pipe bombs placed at the Democratic and Republican National Committee headquarters could kill.
These pipe bombs were viable devices that could have been detonated, resulting in serious injury or death.
The video offering specific detail on the suspect's movements. By 7:52, the suspect has made it to the DNC headquarters. The suspect sits on a bench and appears to fumble with that backpack. A bomb is later discovered in the bush adjacent to the bench. At 8:14, the same suspect walking down an alley next to the RNC headquarters. A bomb placed there as well before exiting the area, walking past the Capitol Hill Club.
So, number one, the bombs were not live. I mean, they were duds. They were fakes. That's number one. So what Steve D'Antuono said, the head of the FBI field office in D.C., that was not true. Darren Beatty went on with Tucker Carlson on his new Twitter program to talk about this video, to compare and contrast it to the reporting at the time and the lack of reporting since that time, which is also something to take note of, and provide additional context to this. So he walks through this guy with a backpack who you heard described there in the news coverage, who goes up to Capitol Police car and park next to a Secret Service car outside the DNC because that's where Kamala Harris was. And he's the one who apparently tells them that there's this pipe bomb by this park bench within a few feet of where they're parked.
Right, it's right there. You could see it, yes.
So I mean, so this is sort of theater of the mind in terms of imagining this, but of course you can go online and watch the video. But listen to sort of Beatty explain what you see on the video, and then, of course, it prompts all sorts of obvious questions.
What it depicts is the discovery of the DNC bomb at approximately 1:05 p.m. on January 6th. And if you follow the timestamps closely, you can see this guy in a backpack come into frame at around 1:05. What he does is he first approaches a car, which is a Metro PD car, talks to the driver's side in the window for a while, then moves to the other side of the window, and then eventually moves and chats with somebody in a black SUV, which is a Secret Service car, chatting with Secret Service. In fact, we've learned through multiple sources that the Metro PD was part of that Secret Service detail. Why was the Secret Service there? We'll get to that in due course. But the guy finishes talking to the SUV and then leaves the frame. What the individual in the backpack is doing is alerting the Metro PD and the Secret Service of the fact that there is a pipe bomb just feet away that was planted by the park bench outside of the DNC. Now, for those watching this video, and everyone has to watch this video to follow along, the first thing that will strike you as remarkable is just how utterly unconcerned both the Metro PD and the Secret Service are about being informed that there was a pipe bomb literally within feet of them and within feet of their protectee, who was VP-elect Kamala Harris. You'll notice if you watch from approximately 1:07 to 1:09 in the timestamp, utterly lackadaisical, utterly unconcerned. Takes them minutes to even get out of their vehicles, at which point they're just kind of lingering around, uninterested, unconcerned. And then this alone is enough to be a national scandal and blow open this investigation with severity. And that is the Secret Service, the Metro PD, you'll see this, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. They allow a group of children cross the street in the direction of the pipe bomb and allow the children to walk within feet of the park benches where the pipe bomb was planted. The Secret Service agent as well is walking right with the children within feet of this bomb. Then, about a minute later, a Capitol Police officer walks even closer to the bomb, takes a picture of it, gives a thumbs up sign, leaves, after which point the Metro PD car, the Secret Service car leave, and then the video is over.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. So, and then after that, they have one of the, the robot bomb disarmers. They send that in, and then
For show and tell.
Well, so the robot to defuse the bomb, but there was nothing to defuse because it was a phony. But I mean, there's also a picture of this pipe bomb sitting next to that bench, right behind the bench in this little park area with some shrubs around it. I mean, it couldn't look more like a pipe bomb if it didn't have like the Wile E. Coyote Acme Corporation name on it. I mean, it's
fake.
It's large though. It's noticeable. So nobody comes upon this until this guy in the hoodie that goes and talks to, I think I said Capitol Police, but DC Metro Police and Secret Service waiting outside the DNC. And then, so, and if you think it's real, then why are you saying they're taking a picture of it? Why are you not cordoning off the area? Why are you not following any protocols? There's the complete indifference to the fact that this pipe bomb was discovered and it's discovered within a stone's throw of the door at the DNC, and people milling about in apparently in an area that it has a pretty high foot traffic.
Dan, it could have killed Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Here's the thing. When somebody calls in a fake bomb threat at a high school or at a park district or at a shopping mall, everybody immediately evacuates. Even though they know like 99.99999% of the time it's a hoax. But you actually have an object there that looks like a sinister device, and they're walking around like not a big deal, taking pictures, letting kids walk right by it, keeping Kamala Harris and not to mention other employees that are inside the building, letting them continue to work. This is a complete hoax and a cover-up. And I think they did it just to make sure, President Trump was never President Trump again as a backup plan.
Well, something else, too, that Beatty points out is sort of obvious, but so it's kind of it's like, hey, whatever happened to those pipe bombs, and did they ever get the guy? And why doesn't, this was the point that Beatty made, why doesn't Kamala Harris try to use this to score political points? Why isn't she out there saying, I almost lost? I mean, they're saying everybody was an insurrectionist. They're saying that D.C. almost fell and our nation with it. And this MAGA dictatorship is taking a second run at seizing control of our country and subjugating the American people and so forth. So why isn't Kamala Harris out there saying, I almost lost my life on January 6th. There was a pipe bomb planted right outside the DNC when I was there. This is how serious it was, and so on and so forth. This is a perfect anecdote for the campaign trail for a demagogue like Kamala and her party to use to prosecute Trump and his supporters. So why don't they?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line. You can text us also at 64636. Type in it DA, then a quick comment.
Tucker Carlson had a postscript on his interview with Darren Beatty from Revolver News about this video. And a postscript was the Blaze reporting on who this guy with the backpack who talked to D.C. Metro Police and Secret Service in the video to apparently to alert them to this pipe bomb that was located just a few feet from them. That you and again, you see this guy, but you don't see facial features or whatever. But you see the guy talking to these law enforcement officers that were on scene, and the Blaze has identified at least not by name, but who the guy was. Take a listen.
Why did she cover that up? We must ask that question. That does not make any sense.
A quick addendum. Minutes after we recorded this interview, we got an update on the story. According to a report from the Blaze, the man we are talking about with the backpack, the guy who walked up to police outside the DNC on January 6th, 2021, and said, by the way, there's a bomb under that park bench. That man was not a passerby. He wasn't some random person. He was, in fact, a plainclothes officer with Capitol Police. Oh, so he wasn't just anybody. He was someone who worked for them. But they didn't tell us that for 3 years, even though they knew it. And even now, the FBI is not admitting this. The Blaze says they learned that this man was a police officer from congressional staffers. And as of this moment, we do not have that person's name, and authorities haven't weighed in one way or the other. But it's yet more evidence that they are lying about these pipe bombs. Why are they lying? Well, because they were involved in it, obviously.
Well, if they weren't involved in it, then there's a real easy way to clear this up, and that's to explain what we see on the video. Are we going to get the FBI to do that? Are we going to get the Capitol Police to do that? Are we going to get the Department of Justice to do that?
No. They'll all say, oh, it's under investigation.
And
why hasn't this person been caught yet?
What?
I know, because
caught. I mean, right.
Joke,
so
because he's an insider.
If that reporting is true, I don't know if it's true. I'm just reporting what's been reported, but these are like fair questions to ask. All the coverage in the immediacy of January 6th, no resolution to it, never addressed again, not used by politicians who are using everything related to January 6th to try to win re-election, and no explanation for this video. And we're supposed to just be backed down by people who say, well, if you ask any questions, then you're, a black helicopter conspiracy theorist. You can call me names all you want. Doesn't change the questions that we have and their legitimacy. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. The FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, is central to the safety of anyone who flies. Among a variety of other functions, it operates the navigation and air traffic control systems and handles all the programs related to aviation safety. Common sense would dictate that those charged with such jobs need to be of sound mind and body. But the FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer from psychiatric disorders, severe intellectual disabilities, and other mental and physical conditions. The scheme is part of the agency's diversity and inclusion recruiting efforts. The FAA claims that the resulting workforce will enable the FAA to ensure safe and efficient travel. Of course, no evidence is offered for this assertion, but DEI isn't ever about results. It's about faith in what its adherents believe is a greater good. Unfortunately, that's not a comforting thought the next time you climb onto an airplane.
All right. Did you know that your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue? Listen up. Amy Jacobson here. If you have joint pain, if you have pain in your knees, your hips, your back, try QC Kinetics. It's the future of pain treatment, and it has arrived. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetic providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over this great country. People with that back pain, hip pain, knee pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. So get your life back. Don't live with that joint pain. And it's non-surgical. Did I mention that? If this is a year you've decided to fight back against pain, then take the first step now and call QC Kinetics. The number is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
When it comes to nutrition, why be less intense about the contents of your supplements? At North American Herb & Spice, we take the best of nature and bring it directly to you. We set the highest nutritional standards for every supplement we manufacture, and none of our products are made with fillers, flow agents, or synthetic chemicals. Visit us at oreganol.com. That's OREGANOL.com. Or find our products in your favorite health food store. North American Herb & Spice. Strong inside. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. And if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. You know, we talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, and one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That's 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. Thanks again for your generosity.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
AM 560, The Answer.
Did you see John Harbaugh dancing in the locker room after the game?
Thankfully, I missed that.
Okay. Well, he's no Ted Lasso. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, we'll talk to New Hampshire State Representative and retired Marine Corps officer Mike Moffitt about tomorrow's first-in-the-nation primary in New Hampshire. That's 7:07.
Looking forward to it, but first let's stop by that newsroom and catch up with Mike Scott.
The Bears may have a new offensive coordinator. We'll tell you who. U of I student has been found dead, and OSHA on a firefighter's death. WIND Chicago News Times, 7 o'clock.
Nikki Haley is the last Trump challenger. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. After Ron DeSantis dropped out of the presidential race before tomorrow's New Hampshire primary.
Look, this is what we were waiting on. We said it was a two-person race. It now really is a two-person race. We think we have a country to save.
But DeSantis is telling his supporters Haley is not who they should want.
A repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents.
DeSantis endorsed former President Trump, who tells Fox,
a lot of the things that he wanted, I wanted. And I think, in fact, I noticed people commentary this saying, well, all of those people that would be for him would be for Trump.
The former president may go to court again this morning in New York before returning to New Hampshire tonight. He could testify at the civil defamation trial he calls a fake case and election interference. Author E. Jean Carroll seeking more damages. She already wanted her first trial, claiming former President Trump sexually abused her decades ago, then defamed her, denying it. President Biden is not on the ballot tomorrow in New Hampshire, but Fox's Brian Yennis reports from Manchester his supporters have a write-in campaign.
Even if Biden does win, he won't get any of the state's 10 delegates, and that's because no delegates will be awarded on the Democratic side. This is punishment for New Hampshire for violating Democratic Party rules by holding the first-in-the-nation primary, even though the DNC picked South Carolina to now go first.
2 U.S. Navy SEALs have been declared dead, never found, after going missing at sea 11 days ago during an operation off the Somalia coast. The head of the UN calls heartbreaking the 25,000 Palestinian deaths now in Gaza, where the war rages, as families of the hostages Hamas still holds stage a protest at Israel's parliament.
Chanting, "Release all of them now and get up from your chairs." Some had faces printed on T-shirts. Others held signs reading, "You will not sit here while they die there." Hamas is still believed to hold well over 100 hostages. Israel says 27 have died in captivity.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. America's listening to Fox News.
.02, 25 degrees, and sloppy conditions are beginning to drop on the Chicago area and northwest Indiana. Rain, sleet, and snow beginning to fall could lead to some treacherous driving this morning. Residents in Michigan City, Indiana are still digging out from a record weekend storm. Near whiteout conditions gripped Michigan City from Friday to Saturday, dumping more than 30 inches of lake effect snow on the area. Sheriff's Department and other police officials are asking residents this morning move vehicles that are parked on the sides of the road in residential areas so plows can get through. By the way, the National Weather Service has renewed their flood warnings for parts of Will and Grundy counties due to ice jams on the Kankakee River. Tinley Park police are expected to give an update this morning after a man fatally shot his wife and 3 daughters at a suburban home on Sunday.
Mother Mahida Kasim, 53, Halima Kasim, 25, Hanan. These are the confirmed names of the victims from the medical examiner's office.
Tinley Park Village Manager Pat Carr. Over the protest of some neighbors, prep work will begin today for construction on the new Ryan Field at Northwestern University in Evanston. Construction workers have moved equipment and trailers into position. They go into their final positions this morning, and actual demolition work on Northwestern's football field is set to begin next week. Bulls dominate all four quarters in a weekend win over the Grizzlies. Chicago now 9th in the East, and they visit Phoenix tonight. The Blackhawks visit Vancouver tonight. The Bears will interview Titans defensive backs coach Chris Harris for the defensive coordinator role this week, as the team is set to announce Shane Waldron as their new offensive coordinator, pending final details on a contract. Waldron comes from Seattle. The news is a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. Crosscom, publicadjusters.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher believes Americans have had it.
The Fulton County District Attorney, who is persecuting Trump for election integrity, and she is evidently up to her eyeballs in a massive personal scandal. Americans are not going to stand for this kind of obscenity.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
45 years ago, I started Permaseal Basement Systems working out of my apartment and F-150 pickup truck. Today, we've helped over 500,000 people in greater Chicagoland make their homes healthy and more valuable. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer. I'd like to thank all of you who have trusted Permaseal and reassure you that your trust is well placed. You can trust Permaseal to use only our own professional employees that will respect you and your home. Trust that we will deliver the best value, using fair book pricing so you don't have to negotiate to get the best deal. And trust Permaseal to always stand behind our work and our word. This January, we're celebrating with an anniversary sale offering 10% off all our services or up to 24-month interest-free financing, waterproofing, crawl space encapsulation, structural repairs, even our new attic insulation service. Be sure to call by January 31st to get great savings and great service. 800-421-7325, 800-421-SEAL, or visit permaseal.net.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life. I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself. Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them. Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95 and comes with our Feel Better or Your Money Back guarantee. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Retirement Outlook.
If your retirement account is mostly stocks or bonds, listen closely. The future of your savings may be more uncertain than ever before. Hi, I'm Paul Stone, CEO of Colonial Metals. The sad truth is, our government continues to eat away at our freedoms and security. In economic times like these, run around the flagpole by lunatics in Washington, I look to the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver that you own. At Colonial Metals, we specialize in helping folks with IRAs and 401ks and other retirement accounts move their savings into physical gold and silver. If you'd like a free gold investment kit, give us a call today at 820-800-8000. My team is standing by ready to rush a free gold investment kit to you. You may also qualify for $7,500 in free silver and a free safe. Call 820-800-8000 now. That's 820-800-8000.
Colonial Metals is not a financial advisor. Consult with your advisor before investing.
That's 820-800-8000.
7:08, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Charles Equipment. Be prepared for any outdoor event in any season in Chicago. Prepare ahead for unpredictable weather with industrial generators from Charles Equipment. Stop and go on the Edens inbound between Peterson and Montrose, 22 in from Lake Cook Road. The Kennedy outbound jam solid Montrose to Harlem. Traveling on the Ike this morning, already 50 minutes from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson inbound 45 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the Dan Ryan, due to an earlier accident, jammed up in the express inbound between Garfield and 35th. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast in our QC Kinetics Weather Center. Here's Steve Williams.
A weather advisory this morning. Clouds and snow, sleet and freezing rain at times. No accumulation expected, but some icy spots. High 34. Rain and ice mixed in early tonight, low 31. 20 to an inch of snow, sleet, and rain tomorrow, the high 34. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Freezing, drizzle, and 25 officially at O'Hare. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, as we discussed earlier, Mike Scott's been reporting. Yesterday, Ron DeSantis ended his presidential bid and endorsed Trump.
It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents. The days of putting Americans last, of kowtowing to large corporations, of caving to woke ideology are over.
And that was after Senator Tim Scott endorsed Trump, and you had a full complement of Trump surrogates on the Sunday talkies, including Sarah Huckabee Sanders over the weekend, to try to help push Trump across the finish line tomorrow in New Hampshire. Not to mention Trump himself rallying in Rochester over the weekend and visiting campaign offices and the like. And here's the problem I have with Nikki Haley, for those who want to extend this campaign beyond New Hampshire. And it's not going to, even if Nikki Haley were to somehow pull out a surprise victory. The numbers in South Carolina and beyond are not particularly formidable.
Not there for her. Yeah,
and really there's no reason to believe that's going to change, because there's no principles at stake when Nikki Haley talks politics. It's just political positioning. So how can you trust it? I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is back before the Iowa caucus. Nikki Haley on a radio station there in Iowa being asked the trans question: can a man become a woman? Can a man become a woman? Is a man who pretends to be a woman the same thing as a biological woman? That's the question. It's an important one, actually. It's sort of a foundational principle, because all sorts of public policy debates start and move in different directions depending on how you answer that question. Here's how she answered it.
Now, can a man become a woman? There's been a lot that's been talked about when it comes to all of these roles and all of these issues. I strongly believe that we should not allow any gender change surgeries to anyone before the age of 18, period. Kids now can't get a tattoo until they're 18. We shouldn't have them permanently change their body until they're 18, and that includes puberty blockers. That includes any sort of hormones that would do that. After the age of 18, we want to make sure people can live any way they want to live. I don't think government needs to be in control of anybody's life. You go live the way you want to live. You should be free to live the way you want to live. And government and everybody else should stay out of your way. But prior to 18, it is an important time, especially when you're going through your teenage years, that can be confusing. I don't think we should ever in any way have any sort of permanent changes. But after 18, I'm not going to say anything. I think that, you always have to believe in freedom and allowing people to live the life the way they want to live. And if that's how they choose, then, I don't think government should have any say in that.
Mm-hmm. After 18, I'm not going to say anything, that phrase in particular. Well, Jonah Wheeler is a state rep in New Hampshire. He's a Democrat. He took to the floor of their legislature to explain his position on legislation in New Hampshire to ban trans surgeries on kids, exactly what Nikki Haley was referencing there in her answer. Here's what Jonah Wheeler had to say as a liberal Democrat, self-identified.
And despite the fact that I am a liberal, despite the fact that I believe in non-discrimination for trans people, for gay people, for queer people, and that I will fight until my very last day, until they are recognized as human beings. The question before us is whether or not children under the age of 18 should be able to get these surgeries. And I, despite being a liberal who believes in those human rights, do not think that is the case. And when the question is put before me, and I spoke to people until 11:30 last night, lobbyists, different stakeholders, people with firsthand experience, lived experience, and I've been speaking to people for the last 4 weeks about this bill. The only argument against it being that this opens the amendment specifically opens the door to other bad trans bills. But folks, the slippery slope fallacy I don't think applies here. We're talking about whether or not kids should get these surgeries, and they should not. These are irreversible surgeries. And despite the fact that there are medical exceptions which are included in this amendment, when people have problems with their genitals that need to be addressed, that should be addressed. But when we're talking about whether or not kids should get these surgeries, I think that goes a bridge too far, and I will not be signing on to that. So
Jonah Wheeler, liberal Democrat, doesn't use the Nikki Haley doesn't use the rhetorical flourishes of a Jonah Wheeler, the fight to recognize gay and trans people as human beings. That's ridiculous. Of course they're human beings, and there's no dispute. That's a typical straw man argument of the left. But he's just taking a political position. And he's taking a political position starting from the premise that, a man can become a woman, just not before the age of 18. So, Nikki Haley, I'm not going to say anything about it after the age of 18. I'm not saying that there needs to be laws about these things necessarily, but I think you have a responsibility as a civic leader, as the leader of the country and the free world, to make statements of principle on issues like this because, for example, if you don't say anything about what should happen after the age of 18, then what do you say about Leah Thomas competing against women at the collegiate level?
And maybe possibly at the Olympic level.
Yes. And what do you say about the American Boxing Association allowing men to fight women? There are issues beyond the age of 18 that may not require federal action, that may be the wrong avenue to address these cultural issues. But you have to provide moral clarity if you want to lead. And Nikki Haley doesn't provide moral clarity because she doesn't speak in the parlance of principles. She speaks in the parlance of political positioning on issues. And that's a very different thing. I mean, you can still politically position yourself once you've established what your core principles are. Say, this is the way I'm going to translate my principles into politics. And this is maybe in some instances the incremental approach we're going to have to take to ensure that the law and the culture reflects the norms that I'm discussing as foundational for the way I think about public policy and culture. But she doesn't talk like that because that's not who she is. And she's proved it over and over again, not just on this campaign or during this campaign, but also when she was governor of South Carolina, which is why this is going nowhere. Because she's up against a movement. And even with Trump's promiscuity when it comes to positions on issues, past and even sort of in real time, it's still a movement that has a defined why and a how and a what. And Nikki Haley's campaign just doesn't. Neither did Ron DeSantis's. And that's why it, started really in the pole position in December of 2022 and now didn't even finish the race.
He didn't even make it to New Hampshire.
We're pleased to be joined by State Representative Mike Moffett. He's a current state rep in New Hampshire. He's a retired professor and Marine Corps officer, also an author and columnist. You can get his musings at Michael Moffett blog, michaelmoffittblogspot.com, two F's, two T's, michaelmoffittblogspot.com. Representative Moffett, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan and Amy, haven't talked to you since 2020.
I know.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Good to see you're still engaged out there, and great to talk to you again. So give us your handle on the landscape. I mean, is there a possibility that Nikki Haley can spring an upset tomorrow?
Yes, Dan and Amy, or Amy and Dan, absolutely. And I know you all track this. Governor Sununu matters, and his endorsement was for Nikki Haley, and he's been working extremely hard, traveling the state with her and for her. So that has mattered. And her climb has been steady from 2%, steadily increasing now into the whatever it is, depending on the poll, 35 or 40%. So it looks like Trump has a double-digit lead in most polls. Some have it closer. But I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be very interesting and exciting. There's only two of them left. The key thing is independence. Here in New Hampshire, independent. It's an open primary, and independents can vote. Independents breaking strongly for Nikki. Republicans are definitely mostly for Trump at this point. So anyway, should be very interesting and exciting. And tomorrow it is.
And what about Biden supporters? I know he's not on the ballot because they chose South Carolina to be the first primary state, but there's a write-in effort. Can you explain that?
Yeah, there sure is. So Biden in 2020 finished fifth in New Hampshire. He left during the primary day, and left his supporters, flew to South Carolina, made what I think is a Faustian bargain with Jim Clyburn to have a woman of color as his vice president, and also to give first in the nation to South Carolina, which he tried to do. So the DNC has not recognized the Democrat primary here, but our New Hampshire law requires us to go first. So there is a unsanctioned pirate primary, if you will, on the Democrat side. Biden is not on the ballot. A number of other names are Marianne Williamson, and also Dean Phillips, congressman from Minnesota. And so to avoid the embarrassment of Biden getting smacked, the establishment Democrats are trying very hard with a write-in campaign to have people write him in. So it'll be interesting, very interesting on that side too, to see how well President Biden does with this write-in campaign. We'll find out tomorrow night. But I think it's a shame that the president has decided to take the course that he took.
Do you think that will stick with New Hampshire voters in the general election, and Biden and Trump, and they'll remember this, and that will provide a material benefit to Trump in what's usually pretty close state when it comes to presidential races?
Sure, and I can tell you guys are political experts from your questions. Yes, it will hurt Biden in New Hampshire, which Trump lost by 3,000 in 2016, very, very close. So I think it definitely will hurt Biden here. New Hampshire only has 4 electoral votes, but they matter. New Hampshire is the only state in the Northeast since 1988 to ever go Republican in a general election, and that happened in 2000. And those 4 electoral votes in 2000 is what gave George W. Bush the presidency. So New Hampshire can and has mattered despite its size. And so if Biden loses those 4 electoral votes because he blew off New Hampshire. That could cost him.
What about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? How's he doing there?
Well, that's interesting too. He was initially running as a Democrat with that extremely powerful name recognition, and then he pulled out of the Democrat side. He's kind of pressured out by the Biden people and folks like that. And other folks didn't care for some of his positions, so he's running as an independent. And I'm not hearing a whole lot about him. He won't be on the ballot because he's not on the Democrat team anymore. So very little, very little about RFK Jr. Happening here at this time.
The Trump indictments, just looking ahead to a general election, the independent-minded New Hampshire voter, the live free or die type, how do they look at the Trump indictments and when the prospect that Trump might be convicted of some felonies, maybe a convicted felon running for president on the ballot in November? Do you think they factored that in already, and there are just other issues that are motivating the votes of swing voters in New Hampshire general election with a view to the general election, or that the outcome of those trials will have a significant impact moving those voters one direction or the other?
Yeah, good question, Dan. That perplexes me, honestly. These indictments is 91 4 different jurisdictional areas where Trump has a total of 91 felony indictments. That troubles a lot of independents in particular. I'm surprised that it hasn't impacted him more on the Republican side, but I have learned that he's got a core, some call it a cult, a core group of supporters for whom he can do no wrong. As he himself once said, he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose much support. So that support perplexes me, but it is real, it is there. But beyond that core, independents, I think we'll see this tomorrow in New Hampshire when Haley gets whatever she gets. She's got a majority from the polls. So the majority of independents support Haley. So that Trump's legal problems have not impacted that much with his core. But and that's a problem for me as a Republican, seeing him move forward if he does project to be the nominee. Is all this legal stuff, I think, is just could be a killer.
But I mean, it's one thing to vote for Haley in a primary when you have an option and you're center right or you're leaning center right this cycle and you have a choice. So I'm sending a message. I'm supporting Haley. I prefer to have Haley. When Haley is gone, which will likely be in the not too distant future, then that choice between Trump and Biden. I've talked to enough people, too, that don't like Trump, but are like, this time around, I just want a Republican to win. I actually don't even care because we just have to get these guys out. The guys that are in now, they have to go, starting at the top. And I just wonder if that's an attitude that you're hearing among your friends and colleagues and constituents as well.
Yeah, there's an attitude or perspective that I am hearing from friends, constituents, and folks around here. But you mentioned or the need for Republicans to, beat Biden if Biden makes it to November. That's why a lot of folks were intrigued and still are, including myself, with Nikki Haley, because she, by every poll that does this, matching up Republican candidates to Biden, Nikki did the best by far. Wall Street Journal poll had her beating Biden by 17. She, I think, was and remains the strongest general election candidate that we could put up on the Republican side. Trump and Biden, it's pretty even. With all of Trump's problems and baggage, he still is like with 2 to 4 points typically ahead of Biden in these polls, which says something about how horrible Biden is perceived. Sure.
Representative Mike Moffitt, he's a state rep in New Hampshire, retired professor and Marine Corps officer, also an author and columnist. You can see Mike's reviews of what's happening in New Hampshire. He's on the ground there. Michael Moffitt, blogspot.blogspot.com. Michael Moffitt, 2 F's, 2 T's, Michael Moffitt, blogspot.com to follow Mike Moffat in New Hampshire and the goings-on there. Representative Moffat, thanks again for joining us. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan and Amy.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
All right, I can't wait to do it. I might even do it early, and that's take the balance of nature. Oh, yeah, 31 whole fruits and vegetables, real food, real nutrition. So get the nutrition your body needs, and once you start taking it, get the nutrition your body craves, because you have to admit you're not getting enough fruits and veggies on your own, and that is where balance of nature comes in. Feel good that you're doing something for yourself. 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago. First-timers get 35% off, and a jug of the fiber and spice, which John Anthony loves to put into a smoothie. So be like John Anthony. 800-246-8751, discount code Chicago, or online at balanceofnature.com, discount code Chicago.
Is your child getting the personalized attention they need to excel in math? Mathnasium has a solution for students of all skill levels. Each child's strengths and weaknesses, creating a customized learning plan. If you have kids in school, you're probably starting to see how they're doing in math. Could it be better? Consider an individual assessment with Mathnasium. They'll pinpoint what your child needs to excel, then give them live, face-to-face instruction, either in-center or online, so they can catch up and get ahead. At Mathnasium, math is taught in a way that makes sense to students, so they understand it, master it, and enjoy it. Over 1 million parents have already trusted Mathnasium to give their children an edge in math. The Mathnasium method gives them the critical thinking skills they need to thrive, with the option to attend face-to-face online sessions or come to one of our 1,000 neighborhood learning centers. Mathnasium is changing lives through math. Learn more at mathnasium.com. That's mathnasium.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, we'll be joined again by our friend Chris Arnatti, the former finance executive turned photojournalist, giving us an update on how back row Americans are faring in our fair cities in this country as compared to some of the global cities he's been traveling to, including most recently Sofia, Bulgaria. You might be shocked by what he has to say at 7:37.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
May the best woman win. That from former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who's now in a one-on-one contest with former President Donald Trump in the GOP presidential primaries. Fox's Jeff Manasso is on the ground in New Hampshire.
With Florida Governor Ron DeSantis out of the GOP presidential primary, the race now intensifying between former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and frontrunner former President Donald Trump, who was endorsed by DeSantis. Trump telling Fox and Friends,
a lot of the things that he wanted, I wanted. And I think, in fact, I noticed people commentary this saying, well, all of those people that would be for him would be for Trump.
And while the latest Monmouth Washington Post poll shows Haley picking up more independent support after DeSantis bowed out, it's not enough at this point if polls are correct to overcome Trump's double-digit lead ahead of Tuesday's New Hampshire primary. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
4 high school students in Las Vegas were indicted as adults on second-degree murder charges in the deadly beating of their schoolmate back in November. A fight that was captured on cell phone video. 9 students so far have been arrested connected with the attack that left Jonathan Lewis dead. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk has arrived in Ukraine for talks with President Volodymyr Zelensky on how Poland can keep supporting Ukraine in their war with Russia. Area drivers need to be cautious on the roadways today. National Weather Service says mixed precipitation is already dropping and a winter weather advisory is in effect for much of this day. Tinley Park police are expected to give an update later today after a man fatally shot his wife and 3 daughters at a suburban home on Sunday.
It's a huge impact to our community and the neighbors around here. I mean, especially around this anniversary of Lane Bryant, but not only that, it's a family, and our thoughts and prayers go out to all of them and the family members.
Tinley Park Village Manager Pat Carr, a suspect, was taken into custody at the scene. The gun used in the shooting was recovered. Over the protest of some neighbors, prep work will begin today for construction on the new Ryan Field at Northwestern University. The Bears are closing a deal to hire Shane Waldron as their new offensive coordinator. NFL Network insiders are reporting. Sources say Waldron spent the last 3 seasons as Seahawks offensive coordinator and has risen to the top of the Bears coaching interviews. Bears are also interviewing Titans defensive backs coach Chris Harris for their DC role this week. Harris, you may recall, spent 4 years as a player with the Bears. The news, a service of turnkey.pro. Reduce your cost, find new revenue streams, grow your team. Do more in 2024 with the help of Turnkey, managed IT, marketing, and business consulting. Visit turnkey.pro today. That's turnkey.pro. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka says it's up to us.
Americans' love of family, love of truth. That is why we will. Well, that's why we've already won in the big scheme of things, and that's why we will always win. Why? Because that is our fuel. And the other side's fuel is what? Hatred. It's up to us to save this nation.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Frank Vance, co-owner of Egan Vance Insurance Agency on Chicago's Northwest Side and a customer of Signature Bank. In my line of work, we pride ourselves on being there for our clients when they need it the most, and we recognize when someone does the same for us. As Egan Vance was expanding, we wanted to buy a much sought-after building in the neighborhood. We couldn't waste any time. I called Signature Bank, and that was all it took. I didn't have to talk to multiple people in siloed departments with multiple forms to fill out. One call did it all. As the one who was always looking out for my clients, it was a great change to know that my bank, Signature Bank, was looking out for me.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm always on the road driving, and I take care of people's dogs. I do feel a difference. And I'm always telling everybody about take Balance of Nature, take Balance of Nature. And the fiber and spice is really great. You know, sometimes when you're on the road all the time and you don't eat right and stuff, I take that, and it's wonderful. It's very good.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Calling all firearm owners, enthusiasts, and Second Amendment patriots. Both experienced and novice customers are cordially invited to visit MOA Industries in Bensonville. MOA Industries is a Class 7 firearms dealer providing a myriad of services, including firearm sales, gunsmithing, certified Cerakote application, laser engraving, firearms instruction on a private range, firearms transfers for only $40, and discounts for veterans and first responders. With a large selection of firearms, customization services, and CCL license classes and renewals, MOA Industries strives to be your one-stop one-stop shop for all your firearms needs. Visit MOAindustries.com today. Your Second Amendment needs are the first priority. No high-pressure salesmen, just friendly, relaxed professionals dedicated to providing the best service possible. MOA Industries is located in nearby Bensonville. Ready to pull the trigger? Call 630-766-7593. That's 630-766-7593. Or visit online at MOAindustries.com. That's MOAindustries.com. MOAindustries.com.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. I-80 Will County jammed up eastbound between LaGrange Road and 80th due to an accident with a left lane blocked. Tri-State jamming up northbound between the Reagan and the Ike this morning. DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbounders, you'll hit the brakes at Bryn Mawr. Bishop Ford on the brakes hard between 111th and the Ryan Merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast in our QC Kinetics Weather Center. Icy mix this morning. Later today, a high of 34. Rain, snow, and ice early overnight with a low of 31. Freezing drizzle and 26 at O'Hare. Your next news update at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon is stepping out on his wealthy leftist friends in Davos, ironically, where they convened last week. We talked about it a bit. You know, in the way that Dimon was essentially, if we're to believe him, take him at face value, suggesting that those who find Trump and Trump voters noxious should be a little bit more charitable because Trump was right about a few things and his supporters like him because he was right about these few important things. And one of the things that Dimon said was, about the thing that is most roiling Americans right now, particularly in urban centers, and that is lawlessness at the border, open border policy of this administration, effectively. Here's what Jamie Dimon had to say about that.
Would you take the deal that the Republicans have put on the table, though, which is we want this border immigration policy as we've laid out, and then we'll fund the rest? Would you rather take that than neither?
I have not read that deal in total, but I probably would take it. Yeah. We have to control the borders. We need more merit-based immigration. We need more seasonal immigration. We need more. We need DACA have a place here. We need a path to citizenship. If you do not control the borders, you are going to destroy our country. And so I think the people who think that somehow this is okay. So now they're sending the migrants into New York and stuff like that. So all of my super liberal friends. Now they realize what a problem is. Did it have to be that? That we realize it. So we want to have a big heart for the world, but we have to
control the border. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For more on this topic and related matters, we're pleased to be joined again by Chris Arnott. He is a former financial services professional turned writer and photojournalist. Currently, he circumnavigated the country, right. And he put together this book, which is excellent, called Dignity, Seeking Respect in Back Row America. And now he must be working on something more global because he's circumnavigating the globe. Chris Arnott, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks to you for having me.
So, Jamie Dimon may not be your favorite person. He's not mine either. But what about what he had to say, particularly in the sense trying to middle the issue between his super wealthy leftist friends and the commoners?
I think there is certainly a disconnect based on class on how you see the issue of immigration and how you see kind of reality of American life, in terms of our cities. if you're wealthy enough, you can really just basically escape the problems that our cities currently have because you don't ever really encounter them. You have, effectively you live in a gated community, doorman building, let's say, or out in the suburbs in a large estate, and you don't generally use public transportation, or you live downtown and you get everything delivered to you. So you generally do not have to interact with the city in a way that most people have to interact in it. Which as anybody in who has ridden either New York City subways, LA buses, or in Chicago the elevated knows is in rapid decline.
Yeah, I know you recently were on the subway. This piece that you wrote at Unheard, coming back from Sofia, from Bulgaria, and just sort of the comparison contrast you had with your experience in your experience in that space, public transportation, in Bulgaria versus in New York City. I mean, I think that's sort of instructive in terms of what's happening to big city America. Can you describe that?
Yeah, I mean, in this particular case, I wrote about coming back from Bulgaria, but I can do it. I come back into the New York City. I flew into Chicago, coming from Korea a few months ago, and the contrast is just is jaw dropping.
Mm-hmm.
Korea, Bulgaria are much poorer than the United States. We're a very wealthy country, and yet the experience of getting from downtown Sofia or downtown Seoul to the airport versus the experience of getting from O'Hare downtown Chicago, and then what happens once you're in downtown is it's night and day. Being on the, I think it's a blue line that goes from O'Hare downtown.
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yep.
How was that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I ended up making friends because I'm generally a friendly guy, but I think a lot of other people would have been scared by the situation. You're having people who are basically passed out and using it as effectively a mobile homeless shelter. It was filthy. And that's true in LA. That's true in New York City. And not only is it filthy, but the actual process of getting onto the elevated, going downtown is just so much less efficient. And then once you're downtown, then you have to worry about your safety. I happen not to be someone who worries much about my safety. I'm a pretty large guy who knows how to navigate these spaces, but God help you if you're a single female. And you just basically want to kind of take the elevated O'Hare downtown at like 9:30 at night. It's just simply dangerous.
Right. And then getting back to O'Hare Airport, what was that experience like?
That took a lot of effort. No. I don't Uber. That's one of my rules. I did a bus to a train because I was actually down further south in Chicago. The entire process. I mean, what I wrote about is that the U.S. just simply doesn't have nice things. Like our cities are gross relative to the rest of the world, and that's really, given how wealthy we are, that's just simply shocking. And you don't really notice it. I mean, I understand a lot of your listeners notice it on a daily basis, but you don't really understand how disgusting it is, how offensive it is until you go somewhere else that is much poorer than us and come back. Then you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, what are we doing here?
Well, we're right. I mean, it's these things that have become sort of they've gone viral, I guess, for lack of a better description. The fecal map of San Francisco, this beautiful city, and this is what residents are dealing with. You can have a $3 or $5 million place, and you're still walking out to homelessness and all of the earmarks of it. New York City, the same thing. Story over the weekend, I think it was in the Post, about human waste in styrofoam cups in parks and elsewhere, and the interesting thing you write about too, and I just want you to develop this is what happens in high regulation, low trust regions, cities, and you say, well, the Western Europe, or even the developing world, they have a lot of high regulation. They're high regulation societies too, but they're higher trust societies. Why does that delta on trust, if regulation is constant, matter?
I mean, because like I tell people, if the government is a sole decider of what is right and wrong, then their job is effectively almost impossible. Right? You have to make assumptions that you can't assume the worst about everybody when you design a product, right? You can't think about what's the worst thing that someone's going to do and then have someone do it. You're not going to build anything if you're always worried about somebody, just coming in and messing shit up. There is a sense of social responsibility to the community most Europeans or Germans have, or certainly in Japan, that's the case, where you don't need a policeman to sit around and watch you, because people simply will not behave in a way that is antisocial. They just know, they were raised not to do that. Their family will scold them. Their neighbors will scold them. There is a sense of shame that comes with erratic behavior, antisocial behavior. And in the United States, we have no sense of shame about being, I think we need to shame people for being, basically for being antisocial. One of the most amazing things in Japan is they have 7-Elevens in Japan. That's their big thing. And in front of their 7-Elevens, they have something called a grab and go. It's literally in front of the 7-Eleven. It's outside, and it's basically 2 cans of beer and maybe chips. Now, can you imagine if you had bags with two cans of beers and chips called grab and go outside of 7-Elevens in the United States? And they would literally grab and go.
Yeah, and they wouldn't pay.
People do not do that in these societies. They simply do not do that because they know that's not the proper behavior. And you can't, I understand people say, why don't police just enforce the rules? I agree police should enforce the rules that exist. But you're putting the police in an almost impossible spot when they have to check people's behavior at every level. Where's the family? Where is people's sense of just being a decent citizen? Tells them not to do these certain things that people do. And we don't have that in the U.S. as to the degree we used to have it when I was younger, or to the degree they have it in other countries.
This is a social contract, and there's a lot of different philosophical versions of it, but it's something that all of the great philosophers understood. This is integral to a stable society, is a social contract that, yes, there will be some enforcement by the state, but it is really mainly meant among what does one citizen owe the other, and that's what you're talking about. That's what's deteriorating.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's deteriorated in the U.S. to extent now. I understand that, there's a version of that will frustrate the right, which says that part of the problem is people want too much freedom, the freedom to do whatever to do anything, including aberrant behavior, antisocial behavior, but it's also much more of a thing on the left where this idea that you be you do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do is valid. Whatever you want to do is just. Whatever you want to do is moral. You decide your own moral code. And that's the problem in the U.S. is we have a sense of I can do whatever I want. Let my freak flag fly.
Yeah.
That includes defecating on the subway. So be it. And the thing is I happen to have, probably relative to a lot of your listeners, a lot of empathy with the homeless. I've spent a lot of time working in that community and working with them. We have a mental illness and an addiction problem in the United States, and I'm relatively empathetic with those who are experiencing this situation. But at the same time, you cannot. We're doing them a great injustice too by letting them sleep in subways, which is going to guarantee bad interactions. You're talking about people who are also mentally unstable, physically, and emotionally in chaos. And you're putting them in tight spaces with lots of strangers. It's just a guarantee that bad things are going to happen. So it's not fair to the homeless to do this, to let them kind of wander anywhere. So it's very frustrating to me, the situation we find ourselves in the United States.
You're describing the Daniel Penny incident, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a way situation should have never happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the details of that case. I don't want to get into it too much, but that situation should not have happened.
Well, there's something else too. I mean, and you mentioned at the outset we're much wealthier. I mean, what's New York City's GDP as compared to the entire country of Bulgaria? It's got to be a multiple. And so what do? Sort of like what we do with government schools. As Peace and Reason magazine last week, $61,000 is the yearly per tent cost of quote unquote safe sleeping villages in San Francisco. $34,000 in Portland, Oregon, almost $30,000 in San Diego, where they have a 400 tent safe sleeping site, and so on and so forth. And so I mean, the conversation about homeless or mental health with respect to me, even though I'm a conservative, is sort of like with government schools. I mean, I'm open-minded on the cost. If you can tell me this amount of money will produce this result that we all want, but we don't have that in these big urban centers, and actually a lot of suburban areas too. We have just throw more money at it because monies we have and results is what we lack. But throwing more money at it gets me off the hook that we're doing something, even if that something is not moving the needle in a productive fashion.
I mean, part of the problem also is that certainly in California, New York, this is what goes to the regulation. If you want to build a new building or a new apartment, you just can't. The amount of impact studies you have to do to build anything in the United States is much less. You run into neighborhood associations. I don't want a new building going up 4 blocks from me because it's going to change my view. That sort of thing. One person can hold up, or one interest group can hold up any new product. So in general, we have a problem of kind of a low growth mentality in the U.S. in terms of infrastructure, because we environmentally study impact it to death, so nothing ends up getting built. So that's why when you say Southern California, that's why you look at the cost, building kind of shelters is just absurd because of the bureaucratic red tape. Now, I'll go one level deeper. Even if we had, a lot of people say the problem is we just need more homes, and I agree we should be more pro-growth in terms of building. But I also say, the product, it goes back to the low trust. You can put, people who have these problems, these addictions or mental illness into a home. That's not going to stop a lot of the erratic behavior. But it's not just confined to the homeless. The idea that you can do whatever you want public spaces goes beyond just people who are living on the streets. It kind of infects a lot of people's mentality that they don't have to behave, in public spaces in a way that works well for the larger community. So, and that's effectively a family thing. Like, why, people need to feel a sense of like, my parents would be embarrassed if I did that. But a lot of people do not have parents who raise their children in a way that they feel, or have the parents where, the family needs to be
right.
So it goes like when the state, again, it goes back when the state is the sole person who tells you what's right and wrong. It's an impossible task.
Yeah, and it becomes, if it used to be right, don't do anything that you wouldn't want on the 6 o'clock news. But the attitude now is, I don't care if it's on the 6 o'clock news.
They want it on the 6 o'clock. They want to go viral.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Our culture is changing.
Chris Arnatti is a writer and photographer. He's currently circumambulating the world. That's a long walk. He's also the author of Dignity, Seeking Respect in Back Row America. Chris Arnatti, thanks so much for joining us again. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Happy New Year from Dutch Farms. Since 1987, Dutch Farms has been offering cheese, eggs, and hundreds of other dairy items to local grocery stores throughout Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. Our goal is to bring the highest quality dairy items to you and your family at unsurpassed value. Dutch Farms is a 3-generation, local, family-owned business. Much of Dutch Farms' success can be directly attributed to our ongoing commitment to faith and family, to community, and to honoring the traditions of our Dutch heritage. Now, more than ever, we're prepared to carry on our long-standing promise to our customers, partners, team members, and neighbors. As we turn the page on 2023, Dutch Farms would like to wish the AM 560 listeners health and happiness in the new year. Please visit DutchFarms.com to learn more about the #1 dairy brand in all of Chicagoland, Dutch Farms.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
That social contract discussion is such a key one that we were having with Chris Arnatti, and in a sense, we'll continue it with Hope Miller, president of Simply Pro-Life, at 8:08.
And Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, reschedules his mayor's meeting to discuss the migrant crisis. But there's one big difference. We'll explain. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Winter weather causing slippery roads and slick conditions in the area. And the Bulls crush the Grizzlies. The Bears may have a new OC. WIND Chicago News Time, 8.
One challenger left, one day left. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. To the New Hampshire primary, and Nikki Haley hopes Ron DeSantis dropping out of the Republican race boosts her, telling Fox.
No, I think his supporters are up for grabs. Think about it. His supporters love America, and they wanted a new generational leader.
But DeSantis has thrown his support behind former President Trump, who tells Fox.
Look, he endorsed me. He endorsed me. And we have policies very similar, actually. I think those people will all come to me.
Former President Trump is now in court. He's arrived at the courthouse in New York, and he may testify at a civil defamation trial he calls fake and election interference. Author Jean Carroll already won her first case, now seeks more money in damages, claiming the former president sexually abused her decades ago and defamed her, denying it. He'll return to New Hampshire tonight for another Trump rally as President Biden skips the state's contest.
He's not standing in front of the press. He's not here meeting voters. He's not answering questions. He's not doing town halls, and he won't do debates.
So Congressman Dean Phillips tells Fox he's up to 32% support in the Democratic primary polls in New Hampshire. The president is not on the ballot as Democrats ignore that primary, considering South Carolina's first. But there is a write-in Biden campaign in New Hampshire. Today, the president meets with his task force on reproductive health care, while his vice president also focuses on the abortion issue.
Coinciding with the 51st anniversary of the Roe decision at the U.S. Supreme Court, Vice President Kamala Harris is kicking off a Fight for Reproductive Freedoms tour today in Wisconsin. The Biden-Harris campaign says the reversal of Roe has put more than 1 in 3 women of reproductive age in a state with abortion bans.
As Fox's Jared Halpern, the search has been called off for 2 U.S. Navy SEALs declared dead 11 days after going missing in an operation off the Somalia coast. Republican Congressman Michael Waltz, a former Army Green Beret, tells Fox.
My heart is broken, but we will also make sure that those Gold Star families are taken care of.
America's listening to Fox News. 26 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Drivers need to be cautious on the roadways today. A winter weather advisory is in effect for much of the day. Mixed precipitation already falling across the area. Tinley Park Police are expected to give an update today after a man allegedly fatally shot his wife and 3 daughters Sunday.
Kasim, 53. Halima Kasim, 25. Hanan Kasim, 24. Zahaya Kasim, 25. These are the confirmed names of the victims from the medical examiner's office.
Tinley Park Village Manager Pat Carr, the suspect, has been taken into custody. Over the protests of some neighbors, prep work begins today for construction of the new Ryan Field at Northwestern University in Evanston. Actual demolition work begins next week. House fire in northern Indiana left a number of people badly hurt, including a firefighter who fell through a floor. South Bend Fire saying 4 to 5 people were trapped inside that burning home on Sunday evening. Authorities continue investigating a deadly hit and run on Chicago's South Side. Police say a man was struck yesterday in the 700 block of West 95th. The driver did not stop. The Bears are closing a deal, according to sources, to hire Shane Waldron as their new offensive coordinator. Waldron spent the last 3 seasons as the Seahawks offensive coordinator. Meantime, the Bears are set to interview Titans defensive backs coach Chris Harris for the defensive coordinator role. Harris spent 4 seasons as a player with the Bears. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
S&P futures are pointing to more gains today after the S&P and Dow closed at a record on Friday. Archer Daniels Midland shares are sharply lower. The agribusiness company put its chief financial officer on administrative leave as it investigates accounting at its nutrition unit. Solar Edge Technologies is laying off about 900 employees as part of restructuring to cut costs. Solar companies have been battered over the past year as companies face weaker demand. Hilton has been expanding and opened more rooms in the recent quarter than at any time in its history. Hilton says it opened 132 new hotels, approximately 24,000 rooms between October and December. Hilton says it continues to see strong demand. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosolda, invested in you.
8:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk is happy for Trump.
I'm happy for Trump the person. I'm happy for Trump the man. They're about to take his business empire away from him. He's facing 700 years in federal prison. He has been sued from every possible direction. The whole January 6th, twice impeached. He's had a tough 3 years. This is a win for all of us because they've tried to go after you. They've tried to go after our movement.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
When you need to ship sensitive or large and heavy equipment, the DC Group in Elk Grove has the experience and expertise to handle the biggest and most complicated jobs. DC Export and Domestic Packing Inc. was founded in 1974 by the husband and wife team of Dominic and Carol Cacciamiglio. Beginning in a building not much bigger than a 4-car garage, the company now boasts 2 Chicago area facilities totaling 100,000 square feet, plus a 45,000 square foot FTZ warehouse in Greenville, South Carolina. Through these facilities and their long-standing agents, they offer nationwide packing, crating, container, and flat rack loading unloading, as well as warehousing, all with heavy lift capabilities. Other products available include custom-made boxes, crates, skids, and corrosion control solutions. DC Transport was founded in 1991 to meet the growing needs of their customers and provide transportation services throughout North America, from container drayage to super heavy haul loads. DC Transport can help you move just about anything. Go to dcexport.com for more info and to get in touch. dcexport.com.
Chronic pain, it can ruin your marriage, bring on depression. It's no way to live. But now there's a non-surgical way to get rid of that hip, back, and joint pain. It's called QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative non-surgical pain relief. Did you know that your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue? And QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetic providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People like you and me with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. Folks, this is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. So fight back against the pain. Take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. This is the number, 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95 and comes with our Feel Better or Your Money Back guarantee. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. Go to 560theanswer.com/store. We'll start on the Edens. Cicero to Montrose, you're jammed up. 25 in from Lake Cook Road. The Kennedy settling in at 1 hour from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Just heavy and slow all the way in. 1 hour on the inbound Eichen from Manheim to the old post office. And the Dan Ryan right now at 40 minutes and climbing from 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast in our QC Kinetics Weather Center. Here's Steve Williams.
A weather advisory for this morning. Some snow, sleet, and freezing rain at times. No accumulation expected, but could be some slick spots. High 34. Rain and some ice tonight early. Low 31. Clouds and a coating to an inch of snow, sleet, and rain tomorrow. The high 34. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
26 and mixed precipitation falling. Light snow in Lansing. Freezing drizzle officially at O'Hare. Your next news update, 8:30. And Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the 51st annual March for Life happened on Friday. Usually good turnout despite the cold weather.
And the snow, yeah.
And the snow. And some celebrities out there, too, of sorts, like Jim Harbaugh, coach of the national championship.
Yes, you know.
Winning Michigan Wolverines, of course. And also, to the signs and, you know, the participants. A buddy of mine, his daughter was part of the group of Fenwick High School students that went out. And so you see young people out there and their signs. You know, all these right-wing extremists, these women haters with these terrible signs like life is a gift.
My sister and nieces normally go out and their friends go out. Not this year, but they'll be back. They make it an annual pilgrimage. And they're not shy about it, and I respect it. I love it. I think it's great.
Have the spine to defend humankind. Daily Signal had a post with the Heritage Foundation site with like the top 40 or so signs that this reporter saw. And so just going through them. America runs on life. And so on and so forth. A real feminist chooses life. Oh, these hate mongers. Oh, these barbarians were told by the Planned Parenthood mafia and the politicians they control, you know, like the political ruling class in Chicago and Illinois. Just people take a look at who's actually there. A lot of these, mainly young people too, which is encouraging. But of course, the fight rages on despite the Dobbs decision. And for more on that topic, we're pleased to be joined by Hope Miller. Hope Miller is one of those young people out there promoting a culture of life from conception to natural death. She's the president of the group Simply Pro-Life. She's also the granddaughter of pro-life legends Joe and Ann Scheidler. Hope Miller, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So your experience, I should say, at March for Life, you were out there, yes?
Yes, I was.
So tell us why you were there, what the interactions were like, what you saw.
Yeah, well, since the overturning of Roe, we're trying to find our purpose in continuing marching. And, last year we were all trying to get our ducks in a row. And this year I think it was so evident what we were there for. We were there to unify with other pro-lifers and allow the abortion industry to know that despite the fact that we got, what we wanted, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, it's not good enough. And we need abortion illegal in all cases across the nation. And that was very evident this year that, we're not backing down. We're going to continue to fight. And we were joined by so many pro-lifers. I mean, tens of thousands out there. And, it was very cold. Not quite as cold as Chicago. So it was a summer day for me. But, it was a cold day. We were out there. It was snowing. And we continued to march. And it was incredible.
Did you see any cameras or reporters from the mainstream media? Because I didn't see anything over the weekend. It just amazes me. If this was a pro-abortion march or a pro-choice rally, they would have gotten coverage.
Yeah, that tends to be the case with pro-life rallies or, really anything is that, the media, no matter the numbers of people, we get out there, they tend to, in some ways silence us. And I think that's pretty, especially when you have something like the March for Life where you have, nowadays I think it's the biggest, public display probably in the past, up there for the past 50 years, and yet we get little to no media coverage. I did see the following day some things on Fox and Friends, but it was not to do with the March for Life. It was to do with another pro-life thing happening in D.C. So, minimal coverage, which I think is really strange.
And so, your focus at Simply Pro-Life, the group that you're the president of, as I understand it, really is on younger people. You are one of them. And so, where should we understand that this debate is among, the Gen Z generation?
Well, I think one thing I admire about Gen Z is that if they have an opinion, we know it. And, I don't always agree with their opinions, but I think that it's better to feel strongly about something than to kind of be, lenient and not really have a passion. I think that it's better to have a passion than not. But I do think that there is a changing tide in how people are viewing abortion because now, 50 years into it, we are seeing some crazy statistics and learning more about it and understanding it, and resources are way more accessible than they were. And I think that, our generation was kind of waking up and being like, what is this lie that they're feeding us, especially with feminism? So I think that we're kind of waking up.
I know. Don't you feel like, at least when I was growing up, and I'm a lot older than you, the Democrats are like, be a feminist. You don't need to have a man. You don't need to have a child to be happy. And now we have really low birth rates in the United States, and they wonder why.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think that that's extremely detrimental. There is nothing, wrong with a woman wanting to work. I enjoy work. That's not the question. The question is, what's going to bring you happiness and make you feel empowered? And I'm not there yet, but I do think that motherhood has got to be one of the most empowering things. You're raising the next generation of human beings, and we've totally degraded that. That's crazy. That's how our, world keeps going. It's crazy.
It's the most rewarding job in the world. Dan knows all about it, right?
I've seen it. Yeah, I know it exists. So the I had one. I had a mom. The fight in states that are essentially abortion dumping grounds these days, like Illinois. What do you say to pro-lifers or conversations you have with pro-lifers, people that are doing great work, like running pro-life pregnancy centers and organizations like that to support women through pregnancy, as well as activist work like you do? What do you say to them in states that seem hopeless, like Illinois?
Oh, gosh. A lot of things. I think the most important thing is to not give up and to stand your ground and probably be bolder. abortion rates in Illinois have gone up 50% since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I mean, we're going to see over 100,000 abortions here in Illinois this next year, maybe even more. And that's crazy. And so, we need to be doing something to stop it. I mean, anything, even if it's one baby, two babies. We need to be reaching these women, helping them. I mean, people often overlook the woman because they're so focused on the baby, and we need to understand that, this mother is also in crisis, and oftentimes she's also a victim to abortion. And to come at it with empathy and love, and just, I think it's so important that we remain active, but maybe step it up a notch, because becoming complacent is not an option here in Illinois anymore.
Is there any hope that Gen Z daughters will rebel against their pro-abort mothers and some of those wealthy suburban enclaves around Chicago and other big cities?
I hope so. I mean, I think that the feminist movement is becoming so extreme that women who, grew up with it kind of moderate or, whatever, I think that they were fine with it, and then they've just kind of been roped into what it's become. But I think this younger generation is seeing how extreme it is, especially when we talk about, the transgender issue. I mean, we have actual men winning Woman of the Year awards. I mean, how insulting that we women aren't even good enough at being women, And so I think that because it's going so far, I think a lot of people are going to start, kind of realizing that this is not good.
Yeah, it's so extreme. Well. It's so extreme that men are now teaching women how to be women. Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. There's an ad campaign in there somewhere. Hope Miller, tell us what Simply Pro Life does, but before we let you go, tell us about your organization.
Yeah, so Simply Pro Life, the goal is to help people do simple things for the pro-life movement by giving them means and resources. Our goal is to end abortion just one baby step at a time. It's very, very new, less than a year old, and so we're just seeing, where it, we're meant to go with it. But, that's the root cause, or, the root purpose.
SimplyProLife.org is the website. Hope Miller is the president. Hope, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You are amazing, and she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
We live in a high-tech world, yet nature is so complex that it's impossible for humans to even come close to duplicating it with all the technology in the world. Witness the spectacular things we see in nature and how they should inform one's faith in the latest book by Jeff Tischler, High Tech versus the Highest Tech. This 78-page paperback book is a must-read, packed with fascinating facts and colorful illustrations, laying out undeniable evidence for intelligent design and an all-powerful creator. And High Tech versus the Highest Tech is written in a way that all age groups can understand and enjoy. Get the book High Tech versus the Highest Tech by Jeff Tischler, offered through Milk and Honey Ministries for just $9.95, plus shipping and handling, with 100% of the proceeds going to missions. And for a limited time, $1 from each book sold goes directly to Food for the Poor. Order your copy today. Call toll-free 1-800-733-9262. Also available from Google Books or your favorite online bookseller. Special rates available for schools, churches, and mission outreach. When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
All right. It's a new year and the opportunity for a fresh start. Sure, you're going to set those familiar personal goals, embark on that healthy diet, drink less, yada, yada, start a workout routine. But what about your business? What are your business goals? Do they match your personal ones? How about spending more time with your family this year? What about increasing your savings for that vacation home? Maybe this is the year you've set out to train the next generation to take over or create that coveted exit strategy. No matter what your business regulations or resolutions are, Turnkey is all about helping you to fulfill them. It's time to make your business work for the life that you want. Turnkey will help you turn around any area of complexity to help you meet your goals, from fresh ideas about mitigating taxes or ways to become more efficient and profitable to making this year to finally upgrade your technology so your business runs more efficiently. Turnkey will make your business resolutions soar in 2024. Visit them today, turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro.
Man, you talk about hitting a grand slam, just feeling just incredible. And I mean, I haven't felt this great in years. I'm 52, and with these, wow. And I just appreciate, I'm impressed. I've never felt this great. I just want to say thank you to you guys.
Honey, I am like a different woman. I mean, finally one day I kept seeing that commercial, and I said, what the heck? What do I got to lose? I started feeling a little bit better. So I got my sister on them. I got my daughter on them. I can't say enough about them. I really can't. Those commercials that you all do is the truth.
Step into the new year with a new you. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code Prager.
Happy New Year from Dutch Farms. Since 1987, Dutch Farms has been offering cheese, eggs, and hundreds of other dairy items to local grocery stores throughout Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. Our goal is to bring the highest quality dairy items to you and your family at unsurpassed value. Dutch Farms is a 3-generation, local, family-owned business. Much of Dutch Farms' success can be directly attributed to our ongoing commitment to faith and family, to community, and to honoring the traditions of our Dutch heritage. Now, more than ever, we're prepared to carry on our long-standing promise to our customers, partners, team members, and neighbors. As we turn the page on 2023, Dutch Farms would like to wish the AM 560 listeners health and happiness in the new year. Please visit DutchFarms.com to learn more about the #1 dairy brand in all of Chicagoland, Dutch Farms.
At Insurance Concierge, our family-operated agency provides in-person assistance with all your insurance needs: auto, home, life, health, financial, and Medicare planning. As independent agents, we represent multiple insurance companies, providing unbiased plan reviews at no cost to you. Whether you are new to Medicare or currently enrolled in a plan, experienced agents will assist you in navigating your options, answering your questions, and finding a plan to fit your specific health and prescription needs. Medicare is our focus all year long, so we will be available when you have questions. You can reach us at 815-714-0909. Insurance Concierge agents are also available to assist you with auto, home, life, health, and financial planning. Let our experienced family of Insurance Concierge agents assist you with your insurance needs. We treat you as part of our own family. Our office is located in the Ovation Center in Romeoville. Call 815-714-0909 to schedule a no-cost, no-obligation appointment. That number again is 815-714-0909.
For over 100 years, St. Andrew's Lutheran School in the heart of Park Ridge has been dedicated to education excellence, spiritual growth, and service to the community. Parents continue to express their gratitude to the school for all it has to offer their children.
My second child just graduated from St. Andrew's Lutheran School in Park Ridge. Not only did both place into advanced classes in high school, but St. Andrew's teachers have enabled me to achieve my most important goal as a parent: to be confident that they know their Savior and that they'll be with me in heaven someday.
From kindergarten through 8th grade, your child will learn in a Christ-centered, individualized, nurturing environment. Take a tour, visit with faculty, and register for the upcoming school year on Sunday, January 28th from noon to 2. For details, visit St. Andrew's Lutheran School in Park Ridge online at standrewspr.org. Provide your child with the gift of a Christ-centered St. Andrew's education. Find out more today at standrewspr.org.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
You cannot live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago to set their legacies in stone. With 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, a prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Argentinian President Javier Milei wasn't the only one who delivered a message at Davos. So did Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts. We'll start there when Jed Babbin from the Washington Times joins us at 8:38.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
26 degrees. Right now we have mostly cloudy skies with freezing precipitation falling at 8:30 here on AM 560, The Answer. This morning, freezing temperatures across much of the U.S. have been reversed. Unseasonably warm weather is hitting the U.S. this week, 60s and 70s in the south. In Southern California, officials there are concerned about destructive incoming rainstorms causing landslides. The race for the GOP presidential nomination down to two major candidates. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suspended his campaign yesterday.
I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory.
Moments later, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley reacted as news broke at a New Hampshire high school auditorium.
Thank you so much, Exeter, for coming out. Can you hear that sound? That's the sound of a two-person race.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this morning is rejecting Hamas's conditions for a hostage release, saying there's, quote, no chance, end quote. Those conditions include leaving Hamas in power and a complete Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. Tinley Park police are expected to give an update this morning after a man fatally shot his wife and three daughters at their suburban home on Sunday.
Mother Mahida Kasim, 53, Halima Kasim, 25, Hanan Kasim, 24, Zahaya Kasim, 25. These are the confirmed names of the victims from the medical examiner's office.
The women were found shot to death in the 7400 block of West 173rd after a Mayo called 911 to report a person shot. Over the protest of some neighbors, prep work begins today for construction on the new Ryan Field at Northwestern University in Evanston. Actual demolition begins next week. A house fire in northern Indiana left a number of people hurt badly. 4 to 5 people were trapped inside the burning home Sunday evening, and a firefighter fell through the floor, according to South Bend's fire chief. Chicago sports. It appears the Bears are closing in on a deal to hire Shane Waldron as their new offensive coordinator. He spent the last 3 seasons as the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator. Bears will also interview Titans defensive backs coach Chris Harris for the DC role this week. Harris spent 4 seasons as a player with the Bears. The Bulls visit Phoenix tonight, while out west, the Blackhawks will take on Vancouver. 8:34, we'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Be sure to schedule your health assessment with my friends at Low T Center. They offer the convenience of physician-monitored, self-inject, at-home testosterone treatments with an average payment of $150 a month cash pay, including labs and medication. If you don't live near a Low T Center, just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy shipping treatments directly to you. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. That's Low T Center. Reinventing men's healthcare.
When it comes to nutrition, why be less intense about the contents of your supplements? At North American Herb & Spice, we take the best of nature and bring it directly to you. We set the highest nutritional standards for every supplement we manufacture, and none of our products are made with fillers, flow agents, or synthetic chemicals. Visit us at oreganol.com. That's OREGANOL.com. Or find our products in your favorite health food store. North American Herb & Spice. Strong inside. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. The FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, is central to the safety of anyone who flies. Among a variety of other functions, it operates the navigation and air traffic control systems and handles all the programs related to aviation safety. Common sense would dictate that those charged with such jobs need to be of sound mind and body. But the FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer from psychiatric disorders, severe intellectual disabilities, and other mental and physical conditions. The scheme is part of the agency's diversity and inclusion recruiting efforts. The FAA claims that the resulting workforce will enable the FAA to ensure safe and efficient travel. Of course, no evidence is offered for this assertion, but DEI isn't ever about results. It's about faith in what its adherents believe is a greater good. Unfortunately, that's not a comforting thought the next time you climb onto an airplane.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
It's awesome stuff. I just love the product. I am so glad I seen the commercial, went for it, and ordered me some. And then my husband said, "Have you seen that commercial of Balance of Nature?" And I looked at him and I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I think we ought to try it." And I says, "I am." And so I says, "I'll order you some." He loves it. I love it. We won't be without it.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
8:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Allstate. Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate. Why make things harder than they need to be? There's a better way to save time and money. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today. Big delays on the inbound Edens, 24 Lake Cook Road into the junction. The Kennedy at an hour 7, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. As you travel on the Ike this morning, you're jammed hard, 25th Avenue all the way to Racine. It's an hour in from Manheim right now to downtown. Stevenson, it's an hour from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 36 and climbing from 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Delays on I-355 this morning are showing up between 63rd and the Reagan. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Little icy mix this morning. Watch for those icy spots, and a high of 34 with periods of rain, snow, and ice overnight. A low of 31. Freezing drizzle officially reported at O'Hare in 26. Your next news update at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, America First with Sebastian Gorka. Weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So at Davos, where our bettors convened for the World Economic Forum 2024, there were a couple of skunks at the garden party. We brought you the newly minted president of Argentina last week, Javier Milei, and the long live freedom, damn it speech that he gave to the assembled central planners. It was brilliant. It was fun.
Yes.
I mean, it was like Hayek 101, but you know, it's so unusual, especially directed at that audience, that it was a joy to watch. Well, he wasn't the only one. Kevin Roberts, our friend from the Heritage Foundation, he's the president there, he had a message too, and he put it between some eyes, just like Milei did when some Euro wimp talked about how they're convened in Davos to protect liberal small L democracy in Western Europe. Here's what Kevin Roberts and of course expressed their trepidation about a Trump reelection and obviously the MAGA dictatorship that would ensue. Kevin Roberts had this to say.
It's laughable that you would, or anyone would, describe Davos as protecting liberal democracy. It's equally,
standing up for it.
It's equally laughable to use the word dictatorship at Davos and aim that at President Trump. In fact, I think that's absurd. But I'm going to step aside from that constructive criticism and instead answer your question.
Yep.
And I'm going to be substantive here. President Trump, if he's the next president, for that matter, I think whoever the next conservative president, is going to take on the power of the elites, which I've mentioned earlier. But the thing that I want to drive home here, the very reason that I'm here at Davos, is to explain to many people in this room and who are watching, with all due respect, nothing personal, but that you're part of the problem. Political elites tell the average people on 3 or 4 or 5 issues that the reality is X, when in fact reality is Y. Take immigration. Elites tell us that open borders and even illegal immigration are okay. The average person tells us in the United States that both rob them of the American way of life. They're right. President Trump will take that on behalf of the average American. Elites also tell us that public safety isn't a problem in big American cities. Just travel to New York or Washington or Dallas, Texas. The average person will tell you that the lack of public safety damages not just the American way of life, but their life. President Trump will take that on. Thirdly, I guess the favorite at the World Economic Forum is climate change. Elites tell us that we have this existential crisis with so-called climate change, so much so that climate alarmism is probably the greatest cause for mental health crisis in the world. The solutions, the average person know, based on climate change are far worse and more harmful and cost more human lives, especially in Europe during the time that you need heating, than do the problem and the problems themselves. Fourth, two more here, Robin. The fourth, China. The number one adversary, not just to the United States, but to free people on planet Earth. Not only do we at Davos not say that, we give the Chinese Communist Party a platform. Count on President Trump ending that nonsense. And fifth, as we sit here, another supranational organization, the World Health Organization, is discussing foisting gender ideology upon the global South. These are practices that are under review, if not being rejected, by countries in Northern Europe. The new president, especially if it's President Trump, will, as you like to say, trust the science. He will understand the basic biological reality of manhood and womanhood. And do you know why? Not because of retribution, not because he's a dictator, but because he has the power of the American people behind him. And it's connected to Senator Portman's excellent point that in addition to needing a vigorous executive, we look forward to having the popular will inform both the House and Senate in 2025 to pass laws on all of those issues and many others. Ultimately, Robin, I think President Trump, if in fact he wins a second term, is going to be inspired by the wise words of Javier Milei, who said that he was in power not to guide sheep, but to awaken lions. That's what the average American and the average free person on planet Earth wants out of leaders.
Pretty good. Pretty good. And somebody else inadvertently sort of confirmed what Kevin Roberts was saying. This is Emma Tucker. She's the editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal, talking about the new reality of the media landscape and the new reality for legacy brands like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal.
When there's a big news event, a big world event, people still come to the legacy brands. We still have a lot of trust. But I think you only have to go back. I think we have to maintain that trust, and we have to work at maintaining it in a way that we didn't have to do not so long ago. So if you go back really not that long ago, as I say, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we very much owned the facts as well. If it said it in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, then that was a fact. Nowadays, people can go to all sorts of different sources for the news, and they're much more questioning about what we're saying.
Right. They are for good reason, because of what Kevin Roberts explained. Because the D.C. press corps and the left that controls all the cultural and civic institutions in this country continues to try to tell people things that they know to be untrue. The gaslighting, the not believing your lying eyes business on open borders and public safety and the rest of the issues that Kevin Roberts ticked off. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Jed Babbin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator as well. Jed, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys.
So Kevin Roberts, take whichever part of it you want or the review in total, but I was specifically thinking a comment from you about the specter of the Chinese communists that Roberts raised for a group that, I'm talking about the World Economic Forum types, that is inclined to genuflect before President Xi and said communists.
Well, I think whatever Mr. Roberts said, and I listened to it pretty closely, the real fact is that China is an enemy of freedom, and we are unprepared to take it on. And I don't think, and with all due respect to Mr. Roberts and Mr. Trump, as much as I will vote for him very gladly in November, I don't think he's going to be doing much about China. He might say some things, he might raise some tariffs, but I don't think he's going to address the fundamental questions that we have in dealing with China, such as how to deter it and how to deter it from attacking Taiwan.
How should he be thinking about those questions?
Well, I think Mr. Trump needs to be thinking in realistic terms rather than just thinking he's going to charm Mr. Xi into whatever he wants him to do. I think we have to rebuild a lot of things. Most importantly, we have to build satellite defenses, which we do not have. We do not have the means of defending our satellites, and the Chinese and the Russians and pretty much everybody in the world knows that if we lose our satellites, we're pretty much deaf, dumb, and blind in fighting a war. So we need to get those things going. We need to make ballistic missile defenses much stronger, and we need to rebuild. We need to rebuild our militaries, number one, to expunge the wokeness that Biden has injected into them. And quite frankly, it's going to take years and years to do that. We also need to get the people more inclined to join the military. We are now in a very bad place. We do not have enough pilots. We do not have enough sailors. We do not have pretty much enough anything. And I saw in the paper this morning that the Army is wanting now to make more accountants and diversity officers out of their infantry officers. So we're going absolutely in the wrong direction. These are a lot of things. I mean, I could go on and on and on, and I don't want to bore you guys, but there's a lot to be done that's not being done. And quite frankly, Mr. Trump didn't do it when he was president either.
Well, our enemies are watching. I mean, they're seeing all of this DIE stuff that's infiltrating our military, right?
Sure, absolutely. Well, and that's the problem, Amy. We have so much that we are showing the enemy, so many weaknesses, so many points of vulnerability, that they frankly can't even keep up with them. We have artificial intelligence. Well, not really artificial intelligence. You have machine learning. We have machine learning impinging on everything from the 2024 election to our ability to defend ourselves. So, there's a lot going on, and ain't nobody keeping up with it.
So if Trump and the Congress were to instigate the sort of rebuilding that you're talking about, the buttressing of defense systems that need to be buttressed, is that enough of a deterrent to give Chinese communists and other expansionist enemies of America, like the Iranians, is that enough to give them pause? I mean, if we can start down that path that you're describing, can we stop some of the unrest that is the instability that is being instigated by those enemies of America?
No, but we can set a timeline for them. We can set a deadline. We can have. Pardon me. We are going to take years and years to rebuild what needs to be rebuilt. But at least at that point, we would say, in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, you're not going to be able to get away with this stuff anymore. And that sets a timeline for them that, quite frankly, might accelerate things like the attack on Taiwan.
I mean, what do you think that Xi acquiring Taiwan is just a matter of time, or is it still an open question?
Oh, I think it's certainly not anything more than a matter of time. They need to understand that they are ready to do so. They need to they want to do it without, obliterating Taiwan. They want to capture Taiwan, not necessarily intact, but in the means where it can continue to be productive as part of China, not as part of Taiwan. But I think they have a set path, and I predicted, I believe on this show, that they're going to attack Taiwan before January 2025. And that the only way that would be extended, that deadline, is if Mr. Biden wins re-election, God forbid.
What about Ukraine? I mean, you even have, you've got Senator Slingblade there in Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, now talking about, border security and so forth, and he's become a lightning rod. And it's like, and of course, Republicans, so even John Fetterman gets it. But this is all a predicate for him saying, well, border security, because I want the funding for Ukraine and for Taiwan, which is still the Schumer posture. And so what about that? How should Trump and, prospectively, and congressional Republicans right now be thinking about this global deal that the Democrats are trying to push, and be thinking about specifically Ukraine and what is to be done in support or not in support of Zelensky between now and November?
Well, to start off with, unless the border policies change, unless Biden reverses himself thoroughly and really closes the border to illegal immigration, I don't think there should be for more aid to Ukraine or more aid to anybody else. I say that advisedly because I'm a very big supporter of Ukraine. I think we need to support them, but Biden does not seem willing to do that without keeping the border open. So I think the Republicans are stuck, and I think it's very much worth a government shutdown in order to, quite frankly, get this border security initiative going.
I agree with that. let's say that, well, just setting that aside for a second. I mean, what is still possible in your view in Ukraine? How should we conceive where Russia and Ukraine is? What our interests at present are, and what we can do in service of those interests, realistically?
Well, our interest is definitely to stop Putin. He will not stop with Ukraine. He will try to go into the NATO countries, and the NATO countries are barely able, and probably not even able, to defend themselves. So we're going to be on the hook for that. We need to be able to defend not Ukraine's borders necessarily, but our borders, as well as defending Ukraine or helping Ukraine defend itself. They're at a huge disadvantage. They have less than 10% of the population of Russia. They have very little capacity to produce military weapons at this point. The Russians have destroyed most of it. I have been advocating for, almost 2 years now, that we had needed to send fighter aircraft to Ukraine to turn the tide. I think we still need to do that, but we're not doing it. Ukrainian pilots are training on F-16s here and in other places, but it's going to be too late. I don't think Ukraine can last. I think that's a damn shame. I think we need to be doing more, but the Russians are pretty clearly winning in Ukraine, and they're not going to give up. Putin has an ideological bent towards capturing Ukraine. I don't want to go into all the details, but his philosopher, a guy by the name of Alexander Dugin, was basically saying and writing, and Putin believes this, that unless you capture Ukraine first, that talking about reestablishing the greater Russian empire is just a waste of time. So Putin needs to do this. He wants to capture Ukraine, and I think he's going to keep on grinding as long as he's in power.
Let's move over to Israel, because the U.S., Egypt, Qatar, they're putting pressure for a two-state solution, asking Israel to accept a peace plan. What should they do?
Well, I think Israel has already rejected this peace plan because it's a recipe for Israel to lose the war. I mean, basically what they're proposing, and Hamas agrees, is to stop the fighting in the Gaza Strip, gradually withdraw Israeli troops, and somehow, maybe, possibly, the Hamas people would release the hostages. And that would leave Hamas in charge of the Gaza Strip. Israel can't do that. They just simply can't. So their best offer, their best advice, my best advice to them would be what they're doing, is ignoring Biden and just keeping on going with the Gaza Strip campaign.
Jed Babbin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, contributor to the Washington Times and American Spectator. Jed, thanks as always.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play. Stop, opt out.
Oh, Jake, this new man cave you built is crazy. How big is that TV?
It's 100 inches.
Serious upgrade. How'd you pay for all this?
Easy. I got a home equity line of credit from Figure. I got approved in 5 minutes and funding in just 5 days.
Hold up. You're saying you can get approved for a HELOC from Figure in 5 minutes with funding in just 5 days?
Yup. It's that fast and easy. The application is 100% online with no in-person appraisal. Plus, there's no out-of-pocket costs. Just fast access to the cash you need to use however you want.
I need a HELOC from Figure. How do I get started?
Just send them a text.
Text SERIOUS to 200-300 to get up to $400,000 in a home equity line of credit from Figure. Get approved in 5 minutes and funding in as few as 5 days. Text the word SERIOUS to 200-300 right now. Text SERIOUS to 200-300. SERIOUS to 200-300.
Figure Lending LLC, DBA Figure. Equal Opportunity Lender. NMLS 1717824. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Figure.com for more information. For licensing information, go to www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
Hey, business owners, are you wondering how to grow your business? Do you need cash flow and a ready source for financing? Well, Signature Bank can help. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that Signature Bank's loan decisions are made locally by a team who knows your name, cares about your business, and is invested in your success. When you need advice about your business or even have a question, Signature Bank is there to help. There are no handoffs or call centers. This is a team that wants to get to know you and your business. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. When I call, someone picks up the phone on the other end. And with Signature Bank, I can securely bank anywhere, anytime. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630. That's 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. Signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
AM560, The Answer.
Oh, where did the time go? Well, Mayor Johnson, Dan, you know that migrant meeting he was going to have with local mayors, 275 were invited. Well, he's having it again today at 4 p.m., but guess how many are invited?
How many are invited? What am I, Ed McMahon?
Yes, 5.
How many are there? 5?
We'll see who shows up. I guess
that meeting,
some are going to maybe join by Zoom call.
That meeting only happens if he doesn't have a panic attack. We'll talk about that tomorrow, too.
You're darn right. All right, go have yourselves a wonderful day. Thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy. Back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Winter weather could cause roads here in the Chicago area. A deadly Southside hit and run is under investigation. The Bears planning interviews for their offensive and defensive coordinator spots. They may have filled one. Bulls crush the Grizzlies, and the Fighting Illini take down Rutgers. WIND Chicago News Time is 9 o'clock.
A new contest